He called me and said, "You don't know what you're doing."
An ice cream parlor renovation meltdown.
I felt it was threatening because...
Well, I don't care what you feel. What you feel is not important.
Now a contractor rebuilds his reputation.
You can't expect to post this kind of a complaint about him and there not to be repercussions for it.
She then attacked the Better Business Bureau, and I'd like you to read this.
Well, this is terrible.
Judge Judy.
You are about to enter the courtroom of Judge Judith Scheindlin. This is Judge Judy.
Contractor Joe Holland Sr. is suing Teresa Tish Ramsey for slander, libel, and defamation regarding the renovation of her ice cream shop.
Order. All rise. Yes, case number 464 on the count in the matter of Holland versus Ramsey.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have a seat.
Mr. Holland, your lawsuit is an interesting one. You're a contractor, and you had a contract to do some renovations in a business for the defendant.
To supervise a renovation, yes, ma'am.
Whatever it turned out, it didn't turn out well. And Miss Ramsey posted a negative review about your company that you want her to take down.
Yes.
Because she was dissatisfied. I assume that you advertise?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, if you advertise, you both welcome people to laud your company and people to express their dissatisfaction.
Yes.
Unless it's malicious, which is hard level of proof for you to reach, would violate free speech. So you can't do that. So let's start out with the fact that you were renovating, I think it was an ice cream parlor.
Yes,
That's what
Your
I
Honor.
read. And you initially hired the plaintiff on what date?
On January the 10th,
How much did you pay him?
$1,925 for general contractor services.
Anything else?
$1,750 for deposit for engineering and mechanical drawings and architectural drawings.
Did he provide you with any architectural drawings?
No, ma'am.
Did you provide her with any
We
architectural?
provided her design services. We never promised her an architect.
Okay. Did you provide her with design services?
Yes, ma'am, we did.
Did he provide you with design services?
No, Your Honor, I never
Okay,
received...
let me see what you say you provided her. Did you receive these on the 1st of January of 2019?
I never received any drawings. The only drawings I saw were submitted with the complaint when he filed the lawsuit against me. And the other drawing, that I drew that.
You did?
Yes, ma'am. For his...
Just a second.
I'm sorry.
You drew this.
Yes,
Is that
ma'am.
correct?
She drew, when my designer got there, he and her drew those. He actually stayed there the whole day working with her to come up with the concept for her store.
Your Honor, he stayed 15 minutes or less. He opened a notebook and asked me to draw him a sketch of what I wanted. So I drew the sketch and
You drew this sketch?
Yes, ma'am, that's my handwriting. I drew that. And I asked him if he wanted to see the electrical or the AC, and he said no, he wasn't
Don't
going
tell
to
me what he
include it
said.
on
That's
the
not
plan.
you, right? No. Okay, so you didn't draw this.
No,
so
ma'am,
the
I
only
didn't.
thing you drew was
We
this.
transferred that to our CAD system.
What is this?
That's the design of her structure. She has a very small store, and we don't have the dimensions.
Is this all that you sent to her?
That's all we have
Just a
because she
second.
never gave us any information about the appliances.
Mr. Holland.
Yes, ma'am.
Listen to my question.
Yeah, that's all we
Is
said.
this all you gave to her?
So far.
And for these plans, you were charging her $1,750. Well, for what were you charging her $1,750?
For the engineering that hadn't even been done. We have to do.
So you didn't do anything?
We gave her a refund of those engineering fees.
Okay.
She's got
So
a complete
just a
refund of that. Okay.
So you got a complete refund of the $1,750.
Yes,
Is that
ma'am.
correct?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Yes,
That would be a yes. So why am I even bothering to deal with this? You got a complete refund on that. What you didn't get a refund on was the $1,925. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
How much time, Miss Ramsey, did Mr. Holland spend with you? First date?
He came out when we called him.
Date?
Would have been the 8th of January.
Okay, and that's when he looked at the project.
That is when he consulted.
When
Yes,
did you
ma'am.
see him again?
2 days later, he called me.
2 days later, he came to do what?
To collect. He called me, and we
Miss
were.
Ramsey, I have other things to do today.
Okay.
He came 2 days later. He came 2 days later.
Yes, ma'am.
Collected money.
Yes, ma'am.
Did he do anything other than collect money?
No, ma'am.
Fine. Did he ever go with you to any city agency?
Yes, ma'am.
How many times?
Once.
For how many hours?
It was 30, 45 minutes.
Okay. And he had someone come out to see you to sketch out what you wanted in the project. That's when you said someone came out and drew this sketch.
Yes.
That was another time. So that was an employee of his.
I assume
That's either
so.
yes or no.
Yes.
How many hours, Mr. Holland, do you speculate within an hour or two
About 20
that
hours.
you spent on this project
Yes.
after you made the initial quote to her?
That is 20 hours.
Okay, that's what he says he spent. And what he's been paid so far is $1,925 for GCing. You fired him.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now I'd like to see what you filed against him. But he's saying that he wants removal of false reviews, slander, libel, and defamation. I'd like to see what you posted.
Here is the one I also have. I don't know if that's the same that he gave you. Yep. Thank you.
Okay, one of the things that you say here is that Mr. Holland tried to get you to use an unlicensed plumber to get the work done under the radar without pulling the proper permits. When we refused, he became verbally abusive, yelling, screaming, and sending a string of hateful text messages to myself and my husband. I would like to see the string of text messages that he sent to you.
The highlighted.
Just show me.
Yes. There you go.
What is this? Please ask your landlady and confirm where the water cutoff is located for your space and when we can schedule to cut it off for several hours to connect our water lines. What's hateful about that?
No, that is where it started. That is how it started.
Shh. I said I want to see the hateful.
There isn't any.
I want. Yeah. Just a second. Give her a pen, please, Bird.
Okay. Thank you.
I want you to show me a string of hateful text messages to myself and my husband. Circle it. Say nothing.
Thank you.
Just a second. This says I will protect my reputation and will get the real issue here. Is that after you posted this?
No, ma'am, that was before.
Okay, what was the date that you posted this?
I don't know the date, Your Honor, whatever the date is on there. I guess it would have been...
Doesn't say what the date is. What was the date of this?
18th of January. And she gave me 10 days to give her money back, but she had already filed the complaint before
Just
the
a
10
second.
days expired.
This isn't a threatening email at all. It's not a threatening note. This isn't a threatening one either. In your genius business background, did you ever investigate the traffic and foot count in front of your property? He's angry. You filed complaints. So he's saying to you, you know, you're a genius. I've saved all the texts, including the one about the Eustace permit person from your wife. Time to have a meeting. Thank you for taking ownership of your company. It makes process serving easier. Do I look like a man that you can threaten to get your way? And I will cave into your extorted demands if you only knew what legal perils are in front of you with your false, I assume it says claims some here someplace. You guys have character challenges. Nothing in there is threatening. You may not like it, but it's not threatening. Certainly nothing as nasty as this. What did you mean, sir, when you said you just wanted to shoot me to get out of your lease?
When I first met her on the 7th of January, she reiterated several times, I can get out of this lease if this doesn't work out for me. And she wanted a budgetary number for what it would cost to build a ice cream restaurant on that location. So I didn't give her a bid, I gave her a budget. She said, well, I can't afford that, so I left. Later, we got together and they said, is there any way we can do this a lot cheaper? And I said, yes. You can hire me as your contractor of record. You can do the work yourself. You can subcontract yourself. You can buy the materials yourself. And you can buy some of the equipment used. And I gave her a list of places she can get my discount. And she was so thankful. She said, well, that saved me a lot of money. I said, yes, because that way I don't have to mark up the subcontract fees. And that's how we started the process.
So the 1925 was to GC the project?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Your version. Listen to me. Your version. So far, you've handed me a bunch of drivel, and nothing that he said to you is threatening or malicious. So that's a lie in your complaint about him. That's a lie in your complaint. I don't see anything threatening in any of those messages.
Well, Your Honor, what I felt it was threatening because...
Well, I don't care what you feel. What you feel is not important. What a reasonable person looking at these things said that this is a reasonable business dispute, and he's saying to you, you're threatening me to get back my money, and I'm going to sue you. And what you tried to do is you tried to get out of a lease because you realized that you were making a big mistake with this ice cream parlor that you wanted to build, and whatever. That's what he believed. Whether it was true or not, I don't know. But certainly there's nothing in here that's threatening. So that part of this is a fib. Now, you don't have with you today, I assume, this is not the city official.
No, this is my husband.
Right. And it says after we fired him, this contractor went to the official in our city with malicious intent and verbally slandered us. So you don't have that witness here.
I do not have that witness here.
Okay. And this is not true, that he kept $2,000 from our small business startup. That's a lie.
$1,950?
Yeah,
yes.
$1,925.
$950.
No, show me $950. It says $1,925. If you say it's $1,950, it's certainly not $2,000. That's also not true. I'm going to let you finish your story. He just gave me his story. Okay. He said, I'll GC project, you hire your own subs. That's built enough so that I know what that is. Go.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Called again at lunch and hung up on me, got mad and
No. That doesn't make sense, madam. What you just said to me doesn't make sense. He called you and he hung up on you, and he called you again. That you had conversations.
We did.
He called you and said...
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Contractor Joe Holland Sr. says Teresa Tish Ramsey defamed his character regarding the renovation of her ice cream shop. Teresa's countersuing for construction delays, libel, and slander.
I'm going to let you finish your story. Go.
On the 15th of January, I was working, getting flooring down in the shop, and he texted me to ask me to turn the water off to have the plumbing connected, and I gave a thumbs up because I didn't have time to read it. I was working. 2 hours later, he called me on the phone, and he said, I'm going to send my guy in there to do the rough plumbing Sunday under the radar to save you money. And I said, whoa. I said, we don't even have drawings or a permit. I said, I need to talk to my husband. And the phone call ended. 2 hours later, I was having lunch. He called me again. And he said, you need to listen to me. I'm trying to help you out here. I'm trying to save you money. And I said, no. I need to talk to my husband. Joe, I'm trying to have lunch. He got mad. He hung up.
Where was your husband?
He was at work. He works in Orlando. I'm the one putting the ice cream shop together. So he hung up on me. And he called me right back. And I'm trying to order. And the waitress came. And I spoke to the waitress. And he hung up on me again. So that evening, I told my husband, he had called me, Mr. Holland called me at my shop at 10 in the morning on the 15th, and he said, how much are you spending on your service bar? And I said, what? And he said, how much money are you going to spend to build that service bar? And I said, I don't know. I go, I'm going to talk to a carpenter. My husband's handy. He may build it. It may be 100. It may be 1,000. It may be 3,000. He immediately responded and said, well, your plumbing's going to cost you 4,000. And I said, but we have our own plumber, and we weren't using him for plumbing.
Okay.
So I said, no.
Okay.
He called again at lunch and hung up on me, got mad, and hung up on me.
No. That doesn't make sense, madam. What you just said to me doesn't make sense. He called you and he hung up on you, and he called you again. You had conversations.
We did.
You did. He called you and said.
Yes, he called you and said, you need to listen to me. You don't know what you're doing. You don't even have a budget. I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to save you money.
Okay, just a second.
Yes,
ma'am. So that's what he said to you.
Yes,
and you
ma'am.
said to him.
I said, Joe, I need to speak with my husband
All right,
tonight.
You're doing a lot of speaking to you. That same day? Is that the
Same day.
When you were having lunch?
Yes.
And talking to the waitress?
Yes,
Okay.
I was trying to order, and he was calling me, and he hung up.
So you said, I have to talk to my husband. You
Yes.
already told me that story.
Yes. So that when my husband came home, I said, Mr. Holland's been calling me, yelling at me all day. I said, can you call him in the morning?
I can't. Just a second. I got it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
When the Better Business Bureau would not file her complaint, she then attacked the Better Business Bureau. And I'd like you to read this. This is very important.
You know, Your Honor, the Better Business Bureau posted my complaint and then they removed it.
Well, this is terrible.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Contractor Joe Holland Sr. claims former client Teresa Tish Ramsey defamed his character online.
Now, I have picked two things in here that are inaccurate, and she cannot justify the third, which is that you went maliciously to a city official, because she has no city official here.
Well, he put it in his own complaint, Your Honor. He said I played a voicemail for the city official.
That's okay.
I'm sorry. He posted all over Facebook that he went there.
Fine. That's not maliciously. Do you think that you can malign somebody and they don't have the opportunity to respond in kind by doing something that's legal, by going to a city builder and said these people are going to build and they're going to use an illegal plumber? You think that he can't do that? He can. He's able to do that. He's able to say these people are going to cut corners, and that's what she said she was going to do. She was going to, if that's what he said, that she was going to use an illegal plumber. So be on the lookout for their plans. They're planning on building something. They're building an ice cream parlor, and they're trying to skid by without getting plans. If that's what he did, it's legal. And you can't expect to post this kind of a complaint about him and there not to be repercussions for it. So did you have repercussions with the city?
I did, yes.
You did. Of course you did. And is somebody else building the ice cream parlor?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. And how much are you paying them?
I paid him $2,800.
For what?
For general contractor fees, and then another $3,500 for engineering and architectural design. And within 3 days, we had preliminary drawings.
So for 3 times as much, you got somebody to do preliminary drawings?
No, ma'am, the same price for
No,
the
that's
engineering.
not the same price. You just told me. I'd never heard $3,500 in here.
That was what he quoted me for engineering and architectural drawings, and I gave him 50% up front, $1,750.
He returned it to you.
He returned the half of the deposit, yes.
Ms. Ramsey, what I'm telling you is you can't file a report about somebody and not expect that person, if they feel as if they've been maligned, to not respond in kind. And that's what he did. And it was malicious, but it wasn't untruthful. You know, somebody could do something maliciously, but he certainly spent time going to a city official and telling them that you were going to sneak under the radar and do things without proper plans and perhaps using unlicensed people. He did that, and by the very act of going there, it was malicious. There's no other reason. Getting even is getting even, and it's usually malicious. But it also has to be untrue, and it wasn't untrue.
Your Honor, it was untrue because he responded to that complaint, and it was untrue what he told the city officials.
Just a second. What did you tell the city official?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Have you been cheated? Go to judgejudy.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
What did you tell the city official?
The city official called me. I didn't call him. He called me after she went to him to complain about me.
Okay. I can't direct her to take down this complaint. She's entitled to do it, and she's entitled to be dissatisfied with your work.
Right.
This wasn't much.
Well, we hadn't finished.
I know. It wasn't much, and it all happened.
We were on a contract for 3 days.
I know. It wasn't a good fit.
When the Better Business Bureau would not file her complaint because it wasn't credible, she then attacked the Better Business Bureau. And I'd like you to read this. This is very important.
Your Honor, the Better Business Bureau posted my complaint. They took it down because he filed litigation against me. They posted it, and then they removed it.
Well, this is terrible. Leaving me voiceless concerning a business that stole $2,000 from our small business?
Right.
Yes, Your Honor. I feel like he stole $1,950 from us.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. Your counterclaim's dismissed. We're done.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I was harassed by phone calls, text messages.
She didn't have the money to do what she wanted.
Him wanting to get another $4,000 money up front from us.
And she wanted a contractor to verify, you cannot do this on this space.
He yelled and screamed at us on the phone, hung up on us, wouldn't let us have a civil conversation.
The space itself was not adequate for what she wanted.
Yeah, it was bad.
And she really wanted out of the lease.
Just do your research before you commit to working with someone.
It's probably time for me to teach somebody else how to do this.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Dunn versus Cal. Step forward.
Kelly Dunn is suing James Cal for the return of the money he paid for an RV. James is countersuing for the unpaid balance.
This is a contract case, so it should be relatively easy. Ms. Dunn, you purchased an RV from the defendant.
Yes.
Purchase price was $6,800.
Yes.
You gave him $4,000.
Yes.
He gave you the title?
Yes.
And the registration?
Yes.
So you had the title and the registration, but not the RV, and he was supposed to make some modifications to the RV.
Yes.
Where is the RV?
It's in storage.
Who put it in storage?
I did.
Is it in a covered storage?
No.
It's in an open-air storage?
Yes.
And when did you do that?
I can't remember the date, but it's been about a year ago.
Has anybody done anything to the RV?
A little bit.
What's a little bit? What does that mean?
Well, the guy that lives there, he does construction, and so he started trying to do some stuff to get it fixed up.
Where did you get the RV from?
I got it from One Stop RV.
When?
Approximately a year ago.
So you bought it a year ago, and you sold it a year ago?
Correct.
So you flipped it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you have the title and registration for it?
Yes.
And do you have the check that you gave him for $4,000?
I have a receipt from the bank and bank statements.
Okay. What were you supposed to do, Mr. Cal, in order to get the other $2,800?
I gave her 2 months to make the net first payment on that amount that she owed me, and that's when I was going to start fixing it with the money that she gave me.
What were you supposed to do to it?
Repair the front. There was damage on the front on the right-hand side, and I have pictures
Was
of
that done?
No.
What else were you supposed to do to fix it?
They had a pop-out on it that leaked. I was going to fix that.
Did you fix it?
No.
How much did you pay for the RV?
I don't remember, Your Honor. I buy a lot of RVs and trailers stuff for the campfire victims up in...
Well, just a second. That's what you keep paperwork for. For $4,000, you're supposed to know how much you paid for it. You bought it and sold it in the same month. How much did you pay for it?
I have no idea. I can't remember.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Are you the victim of a scam? Go to judgejudy.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
Now, the contract was never fulfilled because he was supposed to do work on the RV, which he did not do. And it's been a year. So I'm entering a judgment in favor of the plaintiff in the amount of $4,000.
Your Honor.
You take the RV and do whatever you want with it, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
It was too old, and she realized that she couldn't put it just anywhere.
I got denied for the part because it was too old. And then I said I wanted my money back.
So she understood that.
And in our agreement, he had a buyback. He said he'll buy it back full price. So I said I want my money back.
She had it. She couldn't just put it anywhere she wants it.
He said he paid me $500 a month. And I'm like, no, I paid you $4,000 at one time. Like, I want it all back.
Because she still owed me money.
And then he quit responding to me, and he wouldn't tell me where the RV was.
For the repairs.
Even though the title and registration was in my name.
This gal is totally awesome.
And we had a good friendship, and that's why I'm so irritated that he didn't pay me back.
I still love her. Still care about her.
And I gave him a second chance in December. I gave him a repayment agreement, and he never sent it back with any money. So here we are.
Things clearly weren't going well.
Did a rented room become a money pit?
The holes in the wall that I'm losing the deposit over, how is that on me? She also owes me rent that she never paid for her last month there.
You told me that
And a tenant digs a hole for herself.
Things remained calm until she started dating a guy named Devante. They would get really drunk and fight late into the night.
Judge Judy.
You are about to enter the courtroom of Judge Judith Scheindlin. This is Judge Judy.
Matthew Schwartz is suing his former roommate, 22-year-old Joanna Grunnis for breaking a lease and damaging their apartment.
Order. All rise. It's case number 39 on the calendar in the matter of Schwartz versus Grunnis. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Mr. Schwartz, you were leasing a two-bedroom apartment from whom?
From Rex.
Is that somebody you knew?
No.
And when did your lease start?
On February 6th of 2018.
And it was a 12-month lease?
Correct.
You sublet a room in your apartment to the defendant?
Correct.
On what date?
Her lease started on June 10th of 2018.
And it is your claim that she breached your lease by moving out 4 months prematurely. On what date did she move out?
January 22nd, 2019.
But you did not have possession of the property after January 2019.
I did sign a lease extending from February 1st to May 30th after my 12-month lease was over.
When did you sign that lease?
That lease was signed January 15th.
After she moved out?
No, she was still living in the house at that time.
Mr. Schwartz, I'm reading your complaint, sir. If whatever you say in here is true, because you're suing her for breaking the lease, property damage, and you say in your lease, my relationship with Joanna was becoming strained. She would bring over guys and they would never leave. They would be unemployed, sit around all day playing video games. One of her boyfriends even started forwarding his mail over to our apartment. I finally had to speak to her about this situation, and things remained calm until she started dating a guy named Devante. They had a tumultuous relationship. They would get really drunk and fight late into the night. One night they were especially loud. I heard a big crash. I found out the next day that her television was broken during the fight and the wall next to the television was damaged. So why in the world would you sign another lease with her and have that situation? It doesn't make sense to me.
I had nowhere else to live. If I didn't sign that lease, I'm in a state where I have no family, I know no one.
That's fine.
And I'd rather have that than nowhere to live.
Well, I'm telling you, legally, when you signed a year's lease with her, you had no right to sign anything with her that bound her any time past your lease.
Okay.
It's as if I rent a car. I rent a car for a year. At the end of 6 months, I say, you know what, I really don't want this car anymore, and I'm going to let Officer Byrd sublease the car from me for a year. But I only have the car for 6 months, and the car company can say at the end of 6 months, give me my car back.
But
so
if
what
the car
do you do?
company doesn't ask for the car back...
It may not, but you don't have the right. When you signed the lease with her for a year, you could have signed a lease with her for 6 months. And then if you wanted to renew and you wanted her to renew when you were renewing, that was fine. But at the time that you signed a lease with her, you had no vested interest in the property after January 31st. So you don't get your rent from her. Now, you want to tell me about the damage to the wall?
Yes. So there was damages in her wall. There are holes that I have pictures of.
I'd like to see it. And I'd like to see your bill for fixing them.
So I have a letter from the owner saying that I'm not receiving my deposit back, and that's a deposit of $500.
Well, does it reference anything other than the wall?
Yes, it does. As well as personal damage to me and my property.
No, that has nothing to do with her. Forget it. Burns, cigarette holes,
that's personal damage to me, but the holes in the wall that I'm losing the deposit over, how is that on me?
Because, Mr. Schwartz, this letter, if I was to accept it, says that he inspected the property. Holes were made in the bedroom side on a common wall separating the bedroom from the living room. These holes resulted in peeling plaster cracks on the living room side. In addition to the holes, there were burns and stains on the carpet, as well as filthy fixtures in the second bedroom. I will not be refunding your security deposit. And all I want to know from you is if you want to fix the hole, or he has a separate bill for the hole in the wall that you say she caused when the television set broke, that's one thing.
I have estimates.
For fixing the hole?
Yes.
Great.
Yeah, here's that.
How much security deposit did you give him?
I gave him $400 over a span of the 8 months that I was there.
You have proof of that because he's raising his hand.
Yes, I have.
I'd like to see it.
Here's all the payments I made to him.
Don't give me all the payments. I want to see security deposit, not rent, security deposit. You have a countersuit for security deposit.
Yeah, it's all listed together, so I don't have it separate, but I have which ones were the deposits and what the amounts were made.
Show it to him, Bird. Because I'm not reading that gibberish.
All right, so...
Read it, Mr. Schwartz. Read it, Mr. Schwartz.
Okay, so this
So don't
says...
speak, read.
Moved in June 10th,
No, don't speak. Just read.
I don't see anything here saying that she paid $400 of a deposit.
How much did she... How much...
She paid me $250 of her $400 deposit.
Okay, fine. So she paid you $250 of a $400... Let's take that. So far, this says that the estimate to fix the plaster, if I believe that the television caused that damage, was $40 to repair the crack and $88. That's $128, which means that you still owe her $132 back of her security deposit.
But she also owes me rent that she never paid for her last month there.
You told me that I...
When did you move out?
I moved out on January 22nd, 2019.
Did you pay January's rent?
No, I did not, because he had texted me and said if I moved out by the 31st, I would not have to pay my last month's
I'd like to
rent.
see the text. You tell her in this text you have until the end of the month to pay in full, which is in excess of $700.
Correct.
If you do not, you have until the end of the 1st of February to completely move out your stuff, or your stuff will be in the yard. I am breaking the lease, so if you move out by then, you don't owe the last month's rent. If you do pay in full, then the rent is owed by the end of that month or when the lease ends. That is final and that is legal. I don't care where you get the money from. I will give you an exact price tomorrow, but you have until midnight of the 31st. You remember sending that to her?
I do.
What did she owe you the $700 for?
She had not paid all of her rent from January, as well as utilities and her deposit. She had been late on rent from almost the beginning of her stay, and I had been very lenient with her.
All I want to know is, she moved in June, and she lived there until January. So she lived there for about 6 months. And how much was your rent?
$400 a month.
So you should have paid him $2,400.
Correct.
How much rent did you pay him?
Every month was paid for that $400 except for January, excuse me.
Except for January.
Correct, because he said the last month.
So that's $400.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. $400. But you get credit for $132 because that's your security deposit. 8, 7, 2. $278 so far. That's what I have for you. What do you want, Mr. Schwartz?
I have notes that I was taking as she was paying me in cash for how much she owed me as of when, stating that she owed me $530.
I don't care what you say she owed you. If she paid you for every month with the exception of January, because that's what you say in your text.
Sorry, she hadn't finished paying for December. My apologies.
You owed him $2,400 for the time that you lived there. How much rent did you pay him?
$23.70 is what I had paid for him.
Well, it means that you were only shy $30 in rent.
That is not what I have.
Is that with or without the money that you gave him for security deposit?
That was without the money with the security deposit.
And how much was it with the money for security deposit?
$27.60.
All those numbers don't make up. Actually, that would indicate that you paid him $380 in security deposit. He says you paid him $450. I really don't know. All I know is you have a counterclaim to get your security deposit back.
Correct.
That you're not getting back, okay?
And then
because you still owe him money. And the difference between what you owe him and your security deposit is $278. Judgment for the plaintiff.
I have the counterclaim for my insulin that I had left there as well.
We're done.
But that was worth way more than that, and that's something I need to survive, is the insulin that I had left there. That's something kind of needed, and he took it, and I didn't.
When was that? In February?
That was January 22nd when I had left. I had left it there.
How have you been getting along since January? We're now almost in June.
Correct. I had to pay to get my insulin back.
Show me that you had to pay out of pocket anything to get your insulin back.
I've got all these claims from
No. That's not what I'm asking you. I want to see a check or a credit card slip that you paid anything for insulin to replace it. So you paid like $25.
No.
That's what it says. Patient paid amount. 25.
That's per vial of insulin.
This is all that you showed me, madam. What you showed me was $25, $25. That's what you showed me. Put it down.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
On what date was the car stolen?
Your Honor, I do not know.
Try to think.
It was at least a month from that date.
It's on the 10th. That's when it was reported stolen. Yes. So how could it be a month later in March?
So then...
What's wrong with you?
It doesn't make sense.
Is there something wrong with you?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Matthew Schwartz says his former roommate, Joanna Grunnis, broke their lease and damaged their apartment wall. Joanna has a countersuit for the return of her security deposit and the cost of insulin.
So you paid like $25? No. That's what it says. Patient pay amount. 25.
That's per vial of insulin.
This is all that you showed me, madam. What you showed me was $25, $25. That's what you showed me. Put it down. That's what you showed me. Okay, goodbye. We're done. Thank you.
Why is that excused? You may step out.
There were mice. My old roommate never cleaned up after himself. There was constantly...
The mice were in her room. The filth was in her room.
Garbage everywhere. He never did the dishes. It was just a filth.
I mean, I have a dog that lived with us, so I had to keep the place clean for her, obviously.
I was in the hospital in and out for the entire time that I was there because of the filth of the home. And
as far as what her and Devontae are saying, if they want to live in their dreamland, they're more than welcome to.
He was on drugs half the time that I was there. He was snorting his pain medications, his sleeping pills.
No, there's no truth to that.
It just was not. It was a very toxic place to live in.
Again, if she wants to make up stories to, live in and make her feel better, that's fine.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Morgan versus O'Connor. Step forward.
Katie Ann Morgan is suing her ex-husband, Robert O'Connor, for the return of rent and utilities due to an illegal eviction.
Miss Morgan, how long were you and the defendant married?
We were married for 5 years.
And you have one child?
Yep.
How old is that child?
She's 11.
Who does she live with?
She currently lives with my mother and me. My mom has guardianship of her.
Do you live with your mother?
I do.
Why does your mother have guardianship of your daughter?
I had been in an abusive relationship back in 2014, and it had just gotten really out of hand, so my mom stepped in to help me.
Is the child with your mother just on a guardianship request, or was she placed there by social services?
Nope, guardianship request.
How long have you lived with your mother?
Now I've been there for about 3 months.
Prior to that, according to your complaint, you had been divorced from the defendant for quite some time, but you needed a place to stay. Now, you needed a place to stay. Is that because of this abusive relationship or because your mother asked you to leave?
No, I was actually dating somebody else at the time, and me and him had ended our relationship, so I was looking for a new place to live at the time.
So why didn't you move in with your mother?
We were still mending our relationship from the past. Me and my mom were.
So Mr. O'Connor allowed you to move in with him with the agreement that you pay him $350 a month rent and some other conditions.
Yes.
When did you move in?
August 3rd.
And when did you move out?
August 12th.
So it didn't work out?
No, it did not.
Okay. Now I'd like you to tell me what you're suing him for.
So I had moved in August 3rd, and I had given him the rent money August 5th. And I had stayed there that whole week, but...
Don't tell me your whole story. I just asked you what you were suing him for.
He had wrongfully evicted me, basically.
That's a ridiculous cause of action. Did he give you back any of your rent money?
No, he did not.
Okay. What kind of room did you rent to your wife? Was it a room that you had previously had a tenant in?
Yes, ma'am. I did have previous. I had a rent. Before then, I had to throw him out because he was doing drugs.
When did you throw him out?
About a week before Miss Morgan came in.
And how long had he been living in your house doing drugs?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Her question was, so you're going to give me the $350 back? And you say to her, don't worry, I'm not going to blank anyone. I just want to live and see my kids.
Yes, Your Honor.
And later today.
Tell me about when you had, just before I throw everybody out, her and you. Tell me about you were living with your mom and you had some pain in your mouth?
Yes, that's not true.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Katie Ann Morgan says her ex-husband, Robert O'Connor, illegally evicted her. Robert is countersuing for harassment and lock-changing fees.
When did you throw him out?
About a week before Miss Morgan came in.
And how long had he been living in your house doing drugs?
I don't know how long he was doing drugs for, but as soon as I found out, I kicked him out.
That's not my question.
Yes, ma'am. I was there about 3 months.
And during that time, you had visitation with your children.
Yes, Your Honor.
Because you have more than one child.
Yes.
Well, that wasn't a good idea. And it didn't work out with your former wife.
No, ma'am.
So you give her rent back. How much rent did she give you?
Nothing.
She didn't give you $350?
No, ma'am.
I have a police report.
Just a second. I just like to see proof that you gave him $350.
Absolutely, I have that.
Okay.
I think it's just those ones. Thank you.
She paid you $350.
No, Your Honor. I never received any payment from her.
Show this to him.
I also have my bank statement of the day I took the money out.
I don't see anything stating that I received any money from her.
Did you answer her?
Yes, Your Honor.
Just a second. Did you answer her when she said, as long as I'm going to get my money back? Is there anywhere that you say to her, what money? You didn't give me any money. I don't know what money you're talking about.
Not on this,
Mr. O'Connor?
No, not on this, Your Honor.
I'll look to see what you have to show me.
Okay.
Somebody said, as long as I get my money back, common sense would be, what money are you talking about? You didn't give me any money.
At that point in time, Your Honor, when I responded and wrote what I wrote, it was because I was being harassed, and I wanted the harassment to stop.
$300, unless you have something to the contrary.
I do, Your Honor.
I'd like to take a look at it. Her question was, so you're going to give me the $350 back? And you say to her, don't worry. I'm not going to blank anyone. I just want to live and see my kids.
Yes, Your Honor.
That was your response. Okay. Show me. Show me. I'm open, but I'm busy and I'm old.
Unfortunately, I don't have anything on me that...
Did you give him back his key?
No, I don't have
Okay, that's his counterclaim. He wants his lock fees and harassment he doesn't get. So instead of getting $350, you're going to get $300. Your counterclaim is dismissed. We're done with this case. Goodbye.
Your Honor,
good luck.
I have some proof showing my harassment and everything like that as well.
Goodbye. Good luck. Have a happy life.
Parties are excused. You may step up.
We wanted to get back together. I wasn't having it.
I think it was completely unfair.
I'm a single mom working very hard. I can't just throw money out the window.
I do owe money in child support. I don't owe as much as they're claiming.
I was getting mad that I wanted my money back, so I just kind of got heated.
It painted the real picture of who Miss Morgan is.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Dowdell versus Rogers. Step forward.
Shannon Dowdell is suing fashion designer Gayla Rogers for a refund of her fee to make a wedding dress and punitive damages.
Miss Dowdell, you were getting married and someone referred you to the defendant to make your wedding dress.
Yes.
She did, in fact, make a wedding dress for you. You were not satisfied with it. Not only do you want your money back, but you want the money that you spent on a new wedding dress and all kinds of money for emotional distress.
Yes.
Miss Rogers has a silly counterclaim. Her counterclaim says that she spent many more hours than she originally thought she was going to spend because she wants to be compensated for that. Is that your counterclaim?
Yes.
All right. That's it. How much did you originally quote the plaintiff to make her wedding dress?
$350.
And she would purchase the material?
Correct.
Is that correct?
That is correct.
When was the wedding?
June 24th, 2018.
Did you get married?
I did.
And did you have a good time?
I had an absolutely fabulous time.
And you did not wear the dress that the defendant made for you?
I did not.
And you paid her the $350?
I actually paid her $365 total.
And you ended up buying a new dress because you didn't like the way this dress came out?
Completely hideous.
Just a second. You
Yes.
didn't like the way...
Correct.
And you bought a new dress, and how much did you spend on the new dress?
$1,500.
There's a big difference between a $1,500 dress and a $300 dress.
Well, she came to me very highly recommended, but...
I don't care
yes.
whether she came to you highly recommended. I don't care if she was the Pope. There's a big difference between a $300 dress and a $1,500 dress. You go to an entirely different floor in the department store for a $300 dress and for a $1,500 dress.
Well, it was based off what her skill set was supposed to be, so it wasn't supposed to look like a $300 dress. It was because somebody referred me to her.
You wanted a $1,500 dress for $300.
No, so the person
that's in effect what you're saying to me, Ms. Dowdell. What you ultimately chose was not another $300 dress.
Right.
You ultimately chose a $1,500 dress that
Well,
made
that
you
was because
happy.
it was last minute. I mean, I had no choice. It was a month before my wedding.
You always have choice. You know what I could do in a month? I can't tell you what I could do in a month.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The contract is considered closed upon the payment of the balance due. Did you pay the payment, the last payment?
Yeah, forcibly, yes.
I don't care, forcibly. Nobody held you down. You paid it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Shannon Dowdell says fashion designer Gayla Rogers did not deliver on the wedding dress she hired her to make. Gayla's countersuing for unpaid work, lost wages, and punitive damages.
Okay, a month is not last minute.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, time was not on my side. So had I had time to order a dress, wait for it to come, see if it fit, have alterations done, then yes, I probably could have come out cheaper. But a month before my wedding, when somebody guaranteed me they could do something and they didn't produce.
Nobody can guarantee you what they can do to satisfy you. Is that the dress?
This is what she produced, but I will show you what she said that she could do. It's a grave difference in what she stated she could do, what she produced, and then what I was able to actually wear.
Let me ask you this question.
Yes.
So that this is a contract.
Correct.
You're suing on a contract. You didn't have a written contract, I assume.
Yes.
I'd like to see the written contract that you had.
I have the original.
I'd like to see it.
This is also the original because it's a carbon copy, so it's the original.
No, I mean original that was written on.
She has your measurements here.
Correct.
8 lace appliques.
Right. It was what she sewed onto the fabric you're looking at.
That's okay. 1 yard of satin.
Which was supposed to be for the band.
Just a second. Is there a yard of satin?
Yes.
6 yards of chiffon and 2 yards of mesh.
Correct.
That's in the comments.
That's what I brought to her, yes.
Shh. It's date due June 24th.
No, that's my wedding date. That's not when it was
date
but yes.
due. It says date due 6/24/18. That's what the contract says.
Sure.
Dealing, now you have a contract.
Correct.
This is the contract, which is what we're here on. The price is $350. The deposit is $175.
Correct.
The contract says the items are sold without any guarantees. You can read it. You can read your copy along with me. Claims of deficiencies brought after contract closure have no validity. The contract is considered closed upon the payment of the balance due. Did you pay the payment?
Yeah, forcibly, yes.
I don't care. Forcibly, nobody held you down. You paid it. Client understands that any alterations needed after the final fitting would be an additional cost to the client. Sure. The most important thing that's in this, aside from the fact that it is a fully completed contract, is the items sold without any guarantee.
So the issue is her reasoning that the design didn't come out properly was the first excuse she gave me was because I didn't buy enough fabric. So I paid her for more fabric. Then when I still didn't like the design, she then stated that I purchased the wrong fabric, and that's why the design was not what it was supposed to be. Not because she couldn't accomplish it, but because I brought the wrong fabric. So that's where the guarantee comes in. If you tell me to purchase a particular fabric, and I go to the store and I purchase that fabric, then how is it now that I purchased the wrong fabric, and that's why you couldn't? No, I have it in print. I have it in text messages.
This is the contract.
Correct.
Shh.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Go to judgejudy.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
You didn't like the end result. It's a wedding dress.
But it's nothing, Judge, could you please hold this up? If you look at this, it's nothing like it. I mean, literally, the fabric, if you look at this, it's thin. If you take a look at the picture that I gave her that she said that she could do with no problems, and then you look at this, it's nothing alike. This is thin. You could, like, literally my butt would have been showing through this if I wore this to my wedding. This looks nothing like the picture she said in text messages that she could achieve.
Listen to me carefully. This is your contract. It says cross-body bodysuit.
And I was even reasonable. Since she did the bodysuit.
That's the cross-body bodysuit.
I was trying to be reasonable. I said, you can give me half my money back because I would still use your bodysuit. So she left me with no choice a month before my wedding to scramble to have to borrow money to go and buy another dress.
Anything else? Anything else?
The counterclaim is for the extra work I did. When she first came, yes.
Exactly.
Did you just a second. Okay. Did you send her a bill for the extra work?
No.
We're done. Case is dismissed. You have a contract. You fulfilled the contract. You bought a dress that cost 5 times as much. We're done. We're finished.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
She pretended she could do it and she didn't deliver.
She wanted VIP treatment for a beer budget.
She's a scam and she cannot do the work.
She shouldn't have paid the balance if she didn't like it.
She misrepresented herself and she's a low budget designer.
Be careful who you deal with. You can't satisfy everyone.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Garceau versus Marrero Buckley. Step forward.
Michelle Garceau is suing the father of her child, Brian Buckley, and his girlfriend, Lisa Marrero, for unpaid credit card charges.
Miss Garceau, you and Mr. Buckley have a child together.
That's correct.
How old is that child?
He's 6 years old.
And who does he live with?
He lives with me.
Has he always lived with you?
Yes.
Okay. And this is your current girlfriend?
Yes.
There came a time, Miss Garceau, when I gather you and your son did not have a place to live.
That's incorrect.
Tell me why you moved in with Miss Marrero and Mr. Buckley.
I've never lived with either one of the defendants.
Did you ever stay with them?
I stayed there on Christmas Day and the following day for 2 nights because I was sick for a week prior. So he was helping out with our son, and Miss Marrero is a nurse, so she was making sure I was okay.
But you had your own residence?
Yes, I have my own home in Torrington.
Okay. Is it your claim that the plaintiff lived with you?
Correct.
From when to when?
She actually called, had been assaulted by the man she was living with. She needed a place to stay. Received that call after Thanksgiving. So after Thanksgiving until roughly beginning of February.
And that doesn't sound remotely familiar to you?
It's not correct at all, Your Honor.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I want you to tell me how they got possession of your credit card.
Lisa expressed that she was having financial issues.
That's not true.
Don't answer her. When you use somebody else's money, don't interfere with them when they're telling the story.
I can tell you what it's for them.
I don't care what it's for. Why are you using somebody else's money?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Michelle Garceau says the father of her child, Brian Buckley, and his girlfriend, Lisa Marrero, owe for charges they made on her credit card.
Now, is it your claim that the plaintiff lived with you?
Correct. She actually called, had been assaulted by the man she was living with. She needed a place to stay.
And that doesn't sound remotely familiar to you?
It's not correct at all, Your Honor. Okay. During the month of December, I was okay up until about 4 days before Christmas when I became ill and I was in and out of the hospital for about 4 days. Christmas Day came, I was home in my own home with my family. I became ill again and my ex-boyfriend had called my son's father to come and pick me up and my son up because he had to go to work.
I want you to tell me how they got possession of your credit card.
Okay, so in December, before Christmas, the defendant and I actually became very close.
You mean Miss Marrero?
Yes, and we just had a pretty good family dynamic going on. And she expressed to me that she was having financial trouble and that she was having...
Do you work?
No, unfortunately had a back
So the answer is you don't work?
Correct.
Do you have children?
I do.
How many?
I have 2, one that lives with me, she's 26.
So you have no minor children?
No, but Brian's daughter lives with us. She's 7.
You have custody of one child?
Yes.
From what relationship?
Relationship with another woman.
Were you working during Christmas?
No, I was not.
Why not?
I was looking for work, in the middle of looking for work.
How was your family supporting itself?
My girlfriend was helping me out. And
how was she helping you out? She wasn't working.
She was.
I have an income.
She has an income. She has a fixed income.
Because I'm disabled.
So you get disability?
Correct. And workers' comp.
How much do you get?
About $3,000 a month.
How long have you been getting the $3,000 a month?
The disability started 2 years ago, and workers' comp was 3 years ago.
Okay, keep going.
Your Honor, it was her claim to me that she brings in $7,000 a month.
I don't want to hear.
Okay. Getting back to the credit card, Lisa expressed that she was having financial issues and she was upset that she wasn't going to be able to purchase Christmas gifts for the kids. So we had a good relationship. I agreed to let her use one of my credit cards that had a 0 balance. There was a $5,500 limit on the card. She was supposed to use it for Christmas gifts exclusively, okay?
That's not true.
Don't answer her. When you use somebody else's money, don't interfere with them when they're telling the story.
I can tell you what it's for them when you're ready.
I don't care what it's for. Why are you using somebody else's money?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I want to see any text message that suggests that this credit card bill that you racked up on her credit card was in lieu of rent. Say nothing, show me the text. Say nothing, show me the text.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Michelle Garso says the father of her child, Brian Buckley, and his girlfriend, Lisa Marrero, owe for charges they made on her credit card.
Now, when you use somebody else's money, don't interfere with them when they're telling the story.
I can tell you what it's for them when you're ready.
I don't care what it's for. Why are you using somebody else's money?
Why? Because she was staying with us. And that's what I'm saying. She said she was sick. She wasn't sick. She was having panic attacks from this incident that she claims didn't happen. So she lived with me for 2 months. This is what she gave us in lieu of rent.
Just a second. Is what you're telling me because you racked up on the credit card that she gave you over $5,000. And now you say she lived with you for 2 months. Is what you're telling me she couldn't have found another place to live for less than $2,500 a month?
That is correct. Nobody else would have her.
What? For less
Nobody else would have her.
No, for less than $2,500 a month?
Yes.
You're outrageous.
I'm just telling you. That's what you asked, and it wasn't.
Who takes care of the 7-year-old?
We both do.
We both do.
Don't you work? Ever?
Yes, I do.
Just a second. How long have you been a couple?
2.5 years.
So Miss Marrero was working when you met?
No, she wasn't. She had just been injured about a few months prior.
And your daughter was then 5?
Yes.
Now she's 7?
Yes.
And you both took care of her?
Yes.
That's pretty active. What's the nature of the disability for which you get disability?
I permanently injured my back while nursing.
Your back? You drive a car? Do you have a driver's license?
I have a driver's license. Yes, I do. I do.
I'm just asking you questions. You have a driver's license?
I do.
Okay. Can I see the credit card bills?
It's December. This is the first bill showing all of their charges. All of them.
Okay. Now, what I'd like to see from you is you have what appear to be text messages there.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
I would like to see any text messages that you have that suggest to me that this $5,416 that you racked up on her credit card was in lieu of rent. Let me repeat again. I want to see any text message that you have from her that suggests that this credit card bill that you racked up on her credit card was, as Miss Marrero says, in lieu of rent. Say nothing, show me the text. Say nothing, show me the text.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Are you the victim of a scam? Go to judgejudy.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
I want to see any text message that you have from her that suggests that this credit card bill that you racked up on her credit card was, as Miss Marrero says, in lieu of rent. Say nothing, show me the text. Say nothing, show me the text.
I have no text.
You have a lot of things in front of you.
I absolutely do.
Show me one of those things that suggests that there was an agreement that that credit card was to be used in lieu of rent. Show me. Don't say anything. Hand it to Officer Bird.
I have nothing that says it was an agreement in lieu of rent. This whole thing was based off of a agreement.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. We're done.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I believe that if somebody borrows money from you, they should pay it back.
She did live with us. She needed a place to go.
It's completely incorrect. They were just looking for an excuse to not pay the money that they owed.
She was not working, and so in order for...
I never lived with them, so I didn't need to pay rent. I paid my own rent.
To be compensated, she let us use the credit card in lieu of rent.
Other than that, I have nothing to say to the other defendant.
Find your own life.
The next case.
All parties in the matter of Johnson versus DeLong. Step forward.
Brittany Johnson is suing her former friend, Angel DeLong, for the value of a sectional couch and patio furniture, as well as punitive damages.
Ms. Johnson, there are two parts of your lawsuit. One part of your lawsuit is that your friend, Ms. DeLong, bought some used furniture from you. You were moving into your mother's house?
Correct.
Is that right?
Correct.
Selling your house, you sold her a couch and some other stuff that she didn't finish paying for. With regard to that, she acknowledges that she didn't finish paying for it, but she says that she helped you move. She got a truck and a U-Haul, and her boyfriend helped you move. So you told her to forget about it. You were even. And there's a second part of your suit. Who is this? Josh. That's what I figured. Stand up. Second part of your lawsuit is really not a lawsuit against her. You moved in with your mother and you rented the house.
Correct.
To Josh over here, who
Correct.
is the boyfriend of the defendant.
Correct.
You don't live with him.
No.
And you rent Miss Johnson's house.
Yes.
Do you pay rent
I do.
every month?
Yes. He did not pay for June, ma'am. She gave me an eviction notice on May 18th.
Okay.
So, no, I didn't pay.
Okay. And when are you leaving?
I'm looking for a place now. It's hard to move in a month.
Did you pay rent in May?
Yeah.
So
I
why
paid on
did-
the 5th.
So why did you evict him?
Because they were actually smoking in the home, and the agreement was that, I was actually planning on selling my home.
Okay, I got it. All right, I don't want to know. Listen to me. Josh.
Yes.
You have to pay rent if you live someplace. It's like going in to buy and ordering a tuna fish sandwich, eating it and say, I didn't like it because it had mayonnaise.
I was current until she gave me the eviction notice.
I know, but she gave you an eviction notice for a reason.
And I'm looking for a place now. I don't want to rent her house anymore.
Great, good. Sit down. I'm not dealing with this. That has nothing to do, as far as I'm concerned, with her. The only thing I'm entertaining is the furniture. Okay, you bought the furniture for how much money?
We agreed on $800 in January.
Okay, and what did you purchase? A couch?
It was a sectional.
Okay, and what else?
That was it, just a sectional.
And how much did you give her?
I didn't give her anything.
And you took possession of it?
Yes.
Okay, and?
And we agreed that if I helped her move, I paid for the U-Haul, got my brother's truck, as well as got help from Josh to move her, that we would call it even with the couch.
Okay, so how many days was the U-Haul rented for?
I rented the U-Haul for 1 day.
How much was it?
$54.74.
Which I gave her money back for that, Your Honor.
Did you?
I did. Yeah, the agreement was, because I actually had to work until 7, and the U-Haul place actually closes at 6. So the agreement was for her to rent the U-Haul, and then I would just give her the money, when we came back. And she actually offered to help me move, to help Josh move in faster, because his previous living situation had changed, and he actually had to be out.
How did it change?
Because the landlord at his previous home was not paying the mortgage, so it was going under foreclosure, and she actually got the water turned off. So they were living with no water.
Who's the they?
Him and his brother.
Not true. That's not true. We had water. I don't know what she's talking about.
Well, Angel told me they didn't have water. So.
Stand.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Ma'am, that's not my text messages. Like, I can put your phone number in my phone and put Angel's name as a contact
She didn't write
and have you send messages.
Listen to me. I know that you can do that, but this came from you.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Brittany Johnson says former friend Angel DeLong stopped paying on furniture she was buying from her. Brittany also claims Angel damaged some of it.
Now, on what date did you move into the plaintiff's house?
April 1st, I want to say.
And what happened to the house that you and your brother were living in?
Like she said, the landlord, she just wasn't paying the bills, and it went under foreclosure.
You owe her for the couch, $800.
We agreed on $1,500, ma'am.
Show me.
I have text messages as well with $800.
Well, take a look. Get them.
They're not for me. You can look at my phone. They're not for me. I would not sell that furniture. It's very nice furniture, Your Honor.
Miss Johnson, just show me the agreement. She says $800. You say almost double that. Okay, so, Mr. Long, let me tell you this. I don't believe that she agreed to call it even with the U-Haul rental for a day and Josh. I actually believe her that she gave you back the money for the U-Haul, and I believe her when she says that you wanted to help, and Josh wanted to help her move out quickly so that he and his brother could move into the house as quickly as possible. So I don't believe you. Now, starting with the fact that I have determined that I don't believe you, that you didn't give me a truthful answer, I want you to make sure that what I'm going to look at here says that she agreed to sell you the couch for $800, okay?
Yes.
Great. Okay, now I got it. So it was sort of halfway in between. You originally wanted $1,500 for the couch. And then you agreed to take $8.
No, that did not come from
And then you had a kerfuffle, probably because of Josh, and you said to her, you want to turn into a phony, nasty name. I'll show you two can play that game. I want $1,500 for my couch like I had originally wanted, and Josh can get out of my house. I did this as a favor for you, and now him and his brother.
Ma'am, that did not come from my phone. The evidence that I showed you, that was just a couple. That was a couple.
That came from your phone.
Ma'am, so she could have put any number on there. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, just because it says Brittany doesn't mean that's not my number. I've never mentioned $800. The evidence that I showed you with the agreement that was actually just a couple weeks ago.
Listen to me. I said you came up with a different figure that had to do with something else, whether it was carpet or something else, but you had an original figure. Oh, yeah, you did.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Have you been cheated? Go to judgejudy.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
Okay.
Ma'am, that's not my text messages. Like, I can put your phone number in my phone and put Angel's name as a contact and have you send messages.
Listen to me. I know that you can do that, but this came from you.
It did not come from me.
Who else moved you?
It was me, Angel, my mom, and then one of my uncle's girlfriends.
What about him?
He actually helped Angel move the furniture over to her house. He's never moved anything over to my mom's.
I rented a U-Haul at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. She didn't get off till 7. Me and him loaded that U-Haul from 3 o'clock in the afternoon until 7 when she came home.
He did not help move anything over to my home.
Okay. You have your patio furniture
Yes, I actually did get that back. So basically, the whole...
No, basically, I just asked you a question. Do you have the patio furniture back?
Yes.
Okay, and you don't want, listen to me carefully, and you don't want the sofa back because you say she let her dog sit on it.
Right, which
Good.
I have.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $800. We're done. Thank you.
Parties are excused and they step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I think it was fair.
I don't think it was fair.
It was the $800 that we agreed upon.
We agreed on $1,500.
Drama.
It all started out of jealousy. Her boyfriend was texting me about the house, and she made it very clear that she didn't want him to text me.
There is no friendship.
Pick your friends very carefully.
For me.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter, Gibbs versus Gonzalez. Step forward.
Misty Gibbs is suing her former friend, Jasmine Gonzalez, for an unpaid loan to help pay for her cousin's quinceanera.
Ms. Gibbs, you claim a loan to the defendant, who was a friend of yours, in the amount of $1,200. What was the loan for?
Her cousin was having a quinceañera, and they needed help paying for the hall.
What is that?
A quinceañera, it's like a sweet 16, but it's when you're 15. It's more of like in a Hispanic culture thing. When you're 15, it's for the girls. It's like you're becoming a woman type thing.
And tell me why you made this loan to her.
So she called me when I was at work.
When?
On October 12th. So she called me and we were talking for a little bit. I had already been invited to the quinceañera, and for quinceañeras, usually have people called madrinas and padrinos, and so they're people that like sponsor. So it's not just the parents paying for everything. So you have a lot of people that are helping pay for the whole event. So she told me that the person that was sponsoring the hall had backed out. And so in order to have the thing go on, because invitations already went out and all this other stuff, that she was going to step in and help with the hall. And could I please loan her the $1,200?
She was going to, for her own daughter?
For her cousin.
For her cousin?
Yes.
This was for your cousin?
Yes, ma'am.
I want you to tell me about this conversation that you had with her. This wasn't for a child of yours. This is for a cousin.
Correct.
Well, what did you get involved with paying for the hall about?
Well, I had already contributed towards the quinceañera.
How much did you contribute?
About $2,500.
Well, why would you call her?
Well, I called her to see if she wanted to contribute some money towards the quinceañera.
Why would she want to do that?
Well, because she's been part of the family for 20 plus years, and she lived with me before, and she's more than a family. She's like a sister to me. And at the time,
why didn't the child's mother
because
contribute?
She had the person that was contributing towards the hall. Some people had backed out on her.
So why didn't she take a loan?
I don't think she could afford to get a loan out since she was already like paying for other things for the quinceañera. So that's why she asked since we already asked every family member who wanted to contribute that had already participated in contributing, they couldn't contribute anymore. So then she said if we can ask our close friends. And so I just called her since she was one of my closest.
And what did you say? You said somebody backed out. Could you what?
Contribute towards the quinceañera.
And what did she say?
Yes. She was happy to do it because she's known the family for a long time.
She was happy to do it. She would have done it before.
Well, because she wasn't asked before until the incident happened where the person backed out.
How many people did you call?
2.
What's the other person's name that you called?
I called my boyfriend, but he couldn't do it.
Why?
Because he has other things to pay, like the mortgage and stuff, our rent.
And what about her?
I wasn't thinking of all that when I asked her if she wanted to contribute.
You were just thinking about your cousin's birthday party.
Correct.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She looked at everything and she's like, oh, this is really extravagant. She goes, if they're going to have something extravagant, why don't they have the funds to do it? And I asked her, if you don't like it, you can leave.
First of all, you're a sweetheart.
And later today.
Why would a second-year law student think that there wasn't some risk in giving his friend $10,000 for a 50% return in 3 months?
Because he told me he could personally guarantee that investment.
That's false. That's ridiculous.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Misty Gibbs says her former friend, Jasmine Gonzalez, owes for a loan to help pay for her cousin's quinceañera.
Now, you said somebody backed out. Could you what?
Contribute towards the quinceañera.
And what did she say?
Yes. She was happy to do it because she's known the family for a long time.
She was happy to do it. She would have done it before.
I wasn't thinking of all that when I asked her if she wanted to contribute.
You were just thinking about your cousin's birthday party.
Correct.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Well, because the invitations were sent out.
Who cares? Your boyfriend had other things to take care of. Your boyfriend had his mortgage to take care of. Your boyfriend has other obligations.
Well, she could have said no.
I could have.
She could have said no, and she could have said, no, I can't contribute, but she decided to contribute.
When did she ask you for the money back?
After the quinceañera, but I told her she contributed.
No. Listen to me. Quinceañera was on what date?
November 25th.
And you asked her for this money in October. When did she ask you for the money back?
Like March, when her husband was left with no job.
She said, I need my $1,200 back.
Correct, but I told her the money that you contributed, I can't give you that back.
Is that right?
No. When we spoke on the phone on October 12th, I told her, I made it very clear that it was a loan and that I was going to need that money back. And I asked her, when would she be paying me back? And she said on November 15th. So originally I was supposed to be paid back before the quinceañera. Then when it comes time, we have the party, and she hadn't paid me back.
Just a second. Do the children get gifts at this party?
Yes.
Do they get cash gifts?
They get all kinds of gifts. Cash is one of them.
Sometimes cash gifts.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
So she was supposed to have paid me back. She didn't pay me back. I was already invited. Like she said, I do consider them to be like family. I lived with them when I was in high school, and we've known each other for years. I go to a lot of the family functions and weddings and things like that. So when she told me she was going to pay me back and she didn't, I still went to the party because I'm not going to hold that against everyone else. I didn't bring it up while we were there because I'm not going to ruin her cousins.
She did bring it up.
Oh, she did? Just shh. She did bring it up.
Yes.
At the party?
Correct.
And what did she say?
She just said, she looked at everything and she's like, oh, this is really extravagant and this is really nice and beautiful. And she goes, if they're going to have something extravagant, why don't they have the funds to do it?
Absolutely right.
And I just said, well, if you didn't,
absolutely
well,
right.
I asked her, well, you contributed to it.
Okay.
And I asked her, if you don't like it, you can leave.
First of all, you're a sweetheart.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today.
He had invited me to invest $10,000, $20,000, or $30,000. The reason I elected to do $10,000 is because he told me he could personally guarantee that investment.
That's false. That's ridiculous. So did Bernie Madoff.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Misty Gibbs says her former friend, Jasmine Gonzalez, owes for a loan to help pay for her cousin's quinceañera.
First of all, you've got a lot of nerve calling somebody who is not part of your family to be involved in a function. Somebody that you know is a working lady. $1,200 is a lot of money to somebody. I don't know what you do for a living. Do you work?
Well, I was working
Just a
at
second.
the time.
Do you work?
Not at the moment.
Who works?
My boyfriend.
Well, do you live with him?
Yes.
And what do you do?
Well, I take care of the kids.
What kids?
The kids that live in the home.
Which kids live in the home?
My son, his daughter, and my
Your son?
daughter.
Whose daughter?
His daughter.
Your boyfriend's daughter?
Yes.
So you stay home. You're a housewife now, and he works.
Correct, until I can get a job again.
Okay, yeah. Give it back the $1,200. Get it from the people that made the extravagant quinceañera. Goodbye. We're done.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. They step out.
I mean, a contribution is a contribution. It was never a loan.
I loaned her the money. It wasn't a gift, and I'm glad that I'll get paid back.
She said this is towards the quinceañera because I've been part of the family.
Yeah, it's frustrating. I consider her to be family.
So I'm giving this as a contribution.
No, I never used the word contribution.
Maybe that we can continue a relationship that we had once.
We've had a really long-standing friendship. She's like family. I hope that we can put it in the past.
And a tenant they couldn't evict.
When was the last time you paid rent? She's a hustler.
And the animals.
You have dogs?
Yes.
That should have left with her.
These dogs attacked me without really barking anything. They just jumped on me.
A smaller dog bit you?
Yes.
Where?
On my foot. I had to go to the ER, get my shots. She never came up to apologize.
Judge Judy.
You are about to enter the courtroom of Judge Judith Scheindlin. This is Judge Judy.
Jerry Napolitano and his girlfriend, Elke Koch, are suing their former tenant, Michelle Dominic, for car damage and a dog attack.
Order. All rise. It's case number 160 on the calendar, the matter of Napolitano Koch versus Dominic.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
I'm going to start with you, Miss Dominic.
Yes.
You are the tenant of the plaintiffs, is that correct?
That's correct.
How long have you been their tenant?
I believe since April.
April of this year?
Yes.
What kind of premises are you renting from them?
It's the bottom half of the property. It's a cabin.
It's a house?
Yes.
Not an apartment?
No.
Before you lived there, where did you live?
Briefly in Reseda, but before that it was Tehachapi in Bakersfield.
Just a second. Immediately prior moving in with them, where did you live?
Reseda.
With whom?
Roommates.
For how long?
3 months.
Prior to that, where did you live?
Tehachapi.
How long did you live there?
That's 7 months.
Who were your landlords there?
I didn't have one.
Who were you living with?
My son, since my separation.
An adult son?
Yes.
Prior to that, where were you living?
In Bakersfield, with my husband.
For how long?
My whole life.
So when you and your husband separated, you went to live with your son?
Yes.
Then you went for 7 months, then you went to live with roommates?
Yes.
Okay. Who do you work for?
I do not work.
How do you support yourself?
I am disabled.
When was the last time you worked?
I briefly worked the beginning of this year for a couple months, trying to see if I could go back to work.
What kind of work?
At a grocery store.
Does the government send you disability?
I'm Social Security.
When was the last time you paid rent to the plaintiffs?
May.
So you moved in April.
Really?
Shh.
Oh, yeah. I never saw
Just a second. Don't irritate me. Let's say the last time you paid them, it was in May. Plaintiff said he didn't see that. And they're currently trying to evict you, and you're not paying rent. So you're a squatter.
No.
Yes, you are. You're a squatter. That's exactly what you are. When you live in somebody else's property and you don't pay rent, you're a squatter. When you lived with your son, I assume you weren't paying rent, but he's your son. Are you related to these people?
No.
Well, then if you live in somebody's property, you have to pay rent.
I agree.
You agree. So why don't you pay rent?
Circumstances happen.
Just a second. There are no circumstances that happen. You moved into a property knowing you couldn't afford to pay any rent, and you didn't pay rent, and now you're putting these people through the process of having to evict you. They have to spend money. They have to spend time. They have a property that they wanted to rent to somebody because they needed extra money. Otherwise, they would, make a gym out of their cabin. I mean, what kind of person is that?
I was able to pay the rent.
Just a second. You only lived there in April. You paid April's rent. And then you didn't pay in May. You didn't pay in June. You didn't pay in July. They're trying to evict you. You're still not paying. When do you have to go back to housing court?
I've never been to housing court yet.
So do you have a date?
Not that I'm aware of.
Do you have a date?
She already missed that date, Your Honor.
What was the date?
Oh, God.
She's a hustler.
No.
She's a hustler.
Sorry, I'm not. ma'am.
Oh, absolutely. You're a hustler with them. You may not be a hustler with other people, maybe not with your son, maybe not with your 3 roommates, but you certainly are a hustler with them.
May 31st, Your Honor.
And I've
Here's
never
the filing.
received it.
Here's the filing paper, May 31st.
What was the first court date?
The court date for the eviction?
Yes.
Hasn't been set yet. The court hasn't set a date for that.
Yeah. No, she already missed that date.
Yeah.
By not showing up. Oh, no, she didn't miss the date. She never responded.
What is your last name? Are you Napolitano or Koch?
Yes, Your Honor. Napolitano.
Mr. Napolitano, let's try just to answer my questions. We get through the day much quicker, and I'll be much happier. Was there a court date? That's either yes. No, Mr. Napolitano, that's either yes or no. Was there a court date?
Yes.
What was that court date?
I don't know.
Well, if you don't know, how was she supposed to know?
Well, it was on the papers that she was served with, and I
you don't have a copy of those?
After she didn't respond, there was no reason to go to court.
Do you have a lawyer who was helping you with this eviction process?
Yes, I'm using the document people. They're
just a second. Document people.
paralegals.
Listen to me. If you ever want to get rid of her, get
Thank
a
you.
lawyer. That's not what your lawsuit is about. I wish it was. I wish I could issue an order just throwing her out of your premises. If I could, I would issue an order to the marshals to pack her up and move her out, because I think it's disgraceful when somebody purposely moves into a home that they know they can't afford, belonging to strangers, and squats there and knows that the eviction process, because there are so many squatters, is going to take 6 months. And then you're just going to be so happy to get rid of them, you're not going to bother with it. Just get them out of my premises. You forgive 6 months' rent. She's smiling. She knows the drill.
No.
Of course.
Okay.
No, ma'am. You're wrong.
Show me your rent for May, June, and July.
I didn't.
You didn't pay it. So you moved in April, and you gave them money in April, and not since, unless you can show me proof.
I didn't bring it.
Well, if you weren't coming to the beach today, you were coming to court today.
For this?
No, you were coming to court today. You bring everything, concerning everything. Now, you have dogs?
Yes.
What kind of dogs did you bring to their premises?
I brought my pit bull and a wiener dog.
Which dog bit whom?
The little black dog bit her. The big dog knocked her down.
You're Miss Koch?
Yes.
Do you live together?
Yes, we do.
Is he like this all the time?
Worse.
It can be a little demanding, yes.
Okay.
I am not sure how she described the black dog. I don't know what kind of a breed it is.
She said it's a little black dog. She called it a wiener dog, which means a dachshund.
Okay.
Okay. Would you tell me when that dog bit you?
Yes, it was on the 6th of July. I just had gotten home from work the day before. I was outside in the morning to water the plants, and her gates were right next to where I was taking the water, the hose off the wall, and all of a sudden the gate jammed open and these dogs attacked me without really barking anything. They just jumped on me.
Is there a gate separating... Yeah. Shh. Let me finish the question before you answer.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a gate separating your property where you live with Mr. Napolitano, who's annoying the heck out of me? Is there a gate in between your property where you live with Mr. Napolitano? That doesn't seem to bother you when I say you're annoying me.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were talking to me. I was trying to find the pictures of it.
No, I'm talking to you. I didn't ask you for a picture. I'm asking her a question. Is there a gate separating the property where you live and the property that she was living in?
There's now 2 gates. Initially, when she moved in, there was only 1 gate. And at some point in April, the dogs did escape through that gate. So Jerry Napolitano insisted that she would secure her entry more with another gate. That morning, I went outside there. They managed to open or squeeze through both gates and viciously attacked me.
Were you on your property?
I was on his property, yes.
Where you live?
Yes.
Okay. And the smaller dog bit you?
Yes.
Where?
On my foot. It happened that the pit bull kind of pushed me. I lost my balance, landed on my back, and the black dog had no other reason to attack me. So
May I see it?
I had to go to the ER, get my shots, and had it x-rayed. The tendons were all swollen. It got infected, and I'm emotionally so upset now. I cannot.
When did you see her afterwards?
When?
When did you see her after?
Never. She never came up to apologize.
How did the dogs get back onto her property?
It happened that Jerry came to help me, and then he pushed the dogs back into her area and closed the gates, and then he brought me upstairs to do first aid on my foot.
And you haven't seen her since?
No, she never had the decency of even answering my emails when I asked her to.
Did you send her an email?
Yeah, twice.
I'd like to see it.
It's right here.
She also said she had insurance.
It's all in there.
Yeah.
She never responded to you?
No, ma'am.
Your email address is 15. Is that your email address?
Yes.
That's either yes or no.
Yes, it is. And I've gotten plenty from Jerry. I've never seen one from her.
I don't believe you.
I've got one.
Just a second. I don't believe that you never received the email.
Okay.
Don't believe you. I don't believe you about a whole bunch of things.
Obviously.
Obviously. There's a good reason for that. There's a good reason that I've been here for 23 years. Because you're a hustler.
No, ma'am.
Oh, yes, you are. You're a hustler. You're living in somebody else's property, eating their dinner, and not paying for your food. No, listen to me carefully. Yeah. You go into a restaurant, you eat a steak, you pay for it. You're living in somebody's property, you're not paying rent.
And I want
that
out.
Makes you,
Trust me,
that makes
I want
you
out.
Well, then get out. Just a second. Then get out.
Trying.
You're not trying.
Yeah.
All you have to do is get out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Your son threw you out.
No, nobody threw me out.
Well, then you can go back to your son if you can't afford rent.
I don't want to move back to Bakersfield. Thank you.
You don't like to live in Bakersfield with your son? Get a job.
And later today,
he was very nice to you. The car broke down. I can't get a driver out today. That's pretty shoddy work for somebody who's been in business 15 years.
Your Honor, that was during my investigation process.
Baloney.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Jerry Napolitano and girlfriend Elke Koch say former tenant Michelle Dominic owes for damaging a car and a dog attack.
Now, your roommates threw you out. You went to live with your son. Your son threw you out. You found another place to live. Go back to your son.
No, nobody threw me out.
Well, then you can go back to your son if you can't afford rent. Go back to your son.
I don't want to move back to Bakersfield. Thank you.
Yeah, listen, when I was 24 years old, I wanted to live in Manhattan. I couldn't afford living in Manhattan. I lived in Brooklyn. That's where I lived. You don't like to live in Bakersfield with your son? Get a job. I don't want to hear about the dog crate. I'm not interested in the dog crate. Judge him for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. We're done.
Your Honor.
Listen to me. We are done.
Oh.
Feel happy, Mr. Napolitano.
Please are excused. You may step out.
He has been trying to be very controlling.
She's got all of her rights, but I can't do anything.
I hope I can get out very quickly.
Move. Yeah, please move. Go have a great life somewhere else.
And
you were short $1,500 for a lawyer?
Yes.
Your grandfather gave you the money?
A grandson refuses to hear about his debt.
You haven't had any further discussions with your grandfather about it?
Just with his wife. Her hounding me in emails and calling me.
And his grandpa is shut out.
He won't speak to me.
He hasn't actually called me or anything. It's just been her.
You certainly knew how to get in touch with him when you needed money.
Judge Judy.
You are about to enter the courtroom of Judge Judith Scheindlin. This is Judge Judy.
Larry Straight is suing his grandson, Matthew Straight, for a loan to pay attorney fees.
Order. All rise. It's case number 126 on the calendar in the matter of Straight versus Straight.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Young man, this is your grandfather, is correct?
Yes.
How old are you?
33.
What do you do for a living?
A manager of a maintenance company.
What did you need a lawyer for?
For custody of my son.
How old is your son?
4.
How long have you and his mother been apart?
For 2 years.
And where is he currently living?
With me.
Where was he living prior to the court action?
He's always lived with me. since birth.
How long have you and his mother been apart?
For 2 years.
And what did you need the lawyer for?
Because she left. I had him for 2 years, and then she decided that she was going to go for full custody of him. So she filed a parenting plan on me.
Did she visit during those 2
No.
years? Does she live close by?
Yeah, she lives in the same city.
Does she see him now?
She's seen him 5 times since we went to court back in July, and it was supervised.
So at the time that you took money from your grandfather, you were short $1,500 for a lawyer?
Yes.
And it was serious business.
Yes.
Your grandfather gave you the money.
Yes.
When?
It was either end of July or early August.
When was your court date?
It was October.
When was it concluded?
We're still in the battle as of now.
So the case has not been concluded yet?
No.
Still have the same lawyer?
Yes.
Have you had to give the lawyer more money?
Yes.
Where did you get it from?
I've sold a few cars and my job.
When did your grandfather ask you back for the money that he gave you?
It was on our birthday party, because our birthdays are 2 days apart.
When is your birthday?
August 23rd.
Well, he gave you the money in August. And when did he ask you for it back? The same month?
Yes.
Well, when did you tell him you would get it back to him?
I didn't tell him that night. He asked me about it that night at the birthday party, and that was it. And then
what did he say to you?
He just said that he was going on a trip and needed the money back before his trip.
And what did you say to him?
I just told him I didn't have it.
And then?
And that was it.
And between that time in August and now, we're in July the following year, you haven't had any further discussions with your grandfather about it?
Just with his wife.
And what were those discussions?
Just her hounding me in emails and calling me. But I haven't talked to him directly about it.
Why not? You certainly knew where to get him when you needed the money.
Well, even when I got the money from him, it was all through her. She's the one that asked him about it and brought it up to me about getting the money for me.
How come, sir? I assume she's not your grandmother.
No.
Well, how come you didn't go to your grandfather?
Well, they suggested that I get a lawyer, that I needed a lawyer, and then she said she would ask my grandpa to help me out.
You didn't think you needed a lawyer?
At the time, I didn't think so, no.
Do you think so now?
Yeah.
Does the mother of your child have a lawyer?
No.
Does your son have a lawyer?
No.
I have a guardian.
A guardian ad litem, you mean?
Yes.
There's one appointed, but we haven't
met yet.
Yeah, we haven't met yet.
How much additional have you paid the lawyer?
$2,500.
Over and above what your grandfather gave you and what you had. So you've paid the lawyer a total of about $5,000 already. Yes. So you evidently feel as if your grandfather's wife was correct that you needed a lawyer.
Yes.
And is the reason you haven't paid your grandfather back because you've been paying this lawyer?
No. The reason why is because it was never a loan.
Tell me how it was.
We never talked about a loan or anything until
the same month that you got the money.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty close. We're not talking about a year later. You said, by the way, that money that I gave you wasn't a gift, it was a loan.
Yeah.
So what do you think happened in the couple of weeks between the time you got the money and your birthday when he asked you for the money before he went on his trip? What do you think happened? Did you annoy him in some way?
I don't know. Maybe he thought he needed the money back, I guess.
So what I'd like you to do is to tell me exactly, before I question her, how the transfer of $1,500 came about.
I believe they called me.
They called you?
Or she called me.
She called you. Well, how would she know about this custody proceeding unless somebody told her?
Probably through my father, or I may have said something.
No, I want you to think hard.
I guess me.
I guess you. Now, I want you to think harder. Where were you when you first had the discussion with her or them?
On the phone.
Tell me about it.
Just told her what was going on in my life.
Okay, so you were speaking to her.
Yeah, she called me because she didn't know that me and my ex weren't together anymore. And so she probably had heard it from my dad or somebody, and then she called me about it, asked me what was going on, and then I told her about everything and that how I was going to court.
And?
That's when
tell me. I told her I had to go to court, and?
That I was going to, court for my son.
And? Did you tell her that you had found a lawyer?
No.
Had you found a lawyer?
No, not at that time.
When did you find a lawyer?
After she suggested that I get a lawyer.
And you had how much money?
I think at the time I had $1,000.
How much did the lawyer want?
$1,500. Or no, $2,500.
Did she go with you to the lawyer?
No.
So you went by yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm is not an answer.
Yes.
And then when you went to the lawyer told you the retainer was $2,500.
Yes.
Then you had to have called them back.
Yes.
And said?
Told her that the lawyer wanted $2,500 and I only had $1,000.
And she said?
She would ask my grandpa.
Did she ask him then, or did she call you back?
She called me back.
And she called you back and said?
My grandpa would help me out.
And you said?
So I said, okay.
And then what happened?
I don't know, probably like the next week I came out there and got a check from him.
When the next week came, you went to where your grandfather lived?
Yes.
You drove there?
Yes.
How far is that?
I don't know, 5 miles from my house, maybe 10.
And you spoke to your grandfather?
Yes.
Tell me about the conversation.
Just about work and stuff and the lawyer and then...
No. Work and stuff and the lawyer. What about the lawyer?
I just told him I found a lawyer and stuff, and then he gave me the money, the check.
Oh, that had to...
It was pretty short. It wasn't like we sat and chatted it up.
When you came there, did he have the check written out to you?
Yes.
To your name?
Yes.
So it was all written. All he had to do was hand it to you?
Yes.
When he handed it to you, what did he say?
I don't remember.
Do you remember, sir?
Yes.
What did you say?
I said, this is a loan, and I want it to be paid back as within the next 6 months or as soon as possible.
So why did you ask him for it a couple of weeks later?
Well, that was at a birthday party, and my nephew was there also, who I had lent money to, and I asked him for it. He was standing just to my right. He was standing to my left, and I said, I'm going to need that money back.
How much did you lend to your nephew?
I lent him $1,700.
Okay, so you were speaking to your nephew about the return of that money?
Yes.
And go ahead, I'm interested.
And anyway, I said to Pat, my nephew, I said, I need that money back. I'm going on a trip, and I need the money to be able to go on this trip. And he said, yes, I've got this car up for sale, so I'll get it back to you. And then I turned to him and said that I'm going to need that back from you too, Matt. And he just froze, didn't say anything. So I didn't think anything more about it until later. Then I came to realize that he can't pay me back that fast. But if he could pay me back in the 6 months, that'd be all right.
You came to realize that yourself?
Yes.
You didn't have that discussion with him?
No.
I want you to rethink again what you said to him when he came to pick up the check.
Well, Darris brought him in the house and brought him in to me, and he asked me if he could borrow the $1,500, and I said yes, but I'm going to need it back shortly, within 6 months or so at that time.
Okay. Have you spoken to your grandson since last August?
No, he won't speak to me.
Why not?
He doesn't. He's never tried to call me or anything. He has Darris do all his dirty work.
What kind of dirty work?
Well, I mean, reaching out to me and stuff like that. He hasn't actually came to me and talked to me or called me or anything. It's just been her.
You certainly knew how to get in touch with him when you needed money.
Well, actually, we did talk on the phone one time. He did call me and said he was going on the trip and stuff, and that he wanted to see if I could make some deposits into his bank.
And what did you say?
I don't remember what I told him.
Anything else, sir?
Anything else?
The answer is no. You have nothing else?
No.
Anything else?
No.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500. We're done.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I guess I owed him the money.
He wouldn't even give me $5.
I hope we can get back to where we were before.
If he'd have done something, we wouldn't be here.
I just hope it works out in the long run.
Give me a hug.
Sorry, Grandpa.
Now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Fiscarelli versus Birchfield. Step forward.
Michael Fiscarelli is suing motorcycle repairman Ty Birchfield for damaging his motorcycle while he was attempting to repair it.
Mr. Fiscarelli, it is your claim that the defendant who was supposed to fix your motorcycle actually did more harm to it than good. You want to be compensated to the tune of $3,200. So I have a couple of questions for you.
Yes, ma'am.
You purchased this motorcycle from whom and when?
Harley Davidson in 2010.
And you bought it new or used?
Brand new.
How much did you pay for it?
$16,400, I believe.
And you rode it for approximately 8.5 years?
Up to this point, yes.
Do you have any other motorcycles?
No.
Who did you ride with?
As far as
I mean, were you
friends,
part of a club? Did you ride it to and from work? Did you ride it for pleasure?
just for pleasure, and with a bunch of friends.
What was wrong with it that caused you to bring it to Mr. Birchfield?
At first, I had modifications done on my bike at the shop, new pipes and stuff like that. Or
at his shop?
Not at his shop. Originally, when I met Ty, I brought it to American V Twin, owned by Rick. He was actually a mechanic there.
Okay,
so I had
so he was working for somebody else?
Yes, ma'am.
So the bike had been modified?
Correct.
And Mr. Birchfield had done some of the work on that modification?
He did some of the work, correct.
Now he's in his own business. You brought it to him when?
It would have been in 2016 is when I first brought.
No, the last time.
June of 2016. 17, I'm sorry.
And what did you bring it to him for?
My wife and I were out and we hit a speed bump. It was a high speed bump. I bottomed out the bike and jolted the bike pretty good, and it disrupted, the battery. And so I had actually brought it to him to get it fixed.
Okay, so it wasn't an inconsequential problem. It was a serious problem.
Yes.
Were you able to ride the bike to his shop, or did it have to be towed?
Actually, the battery had gone completely dead. We actually had the bike picked up.
So it had to be?
It had to be towed.
Towed.
Correct.
Okay. Now, Mr. Fiscarelli, what I didn't understand was what I remember in reading in your complaint. It said, my bike needed some minor work. So you took it to the defendant. I needed a battery replaced. And while the battery was being replaced, the defendant said he could get out a minor dent in the gas tank. That's not the story you're telling me now, sir. I just don't know what the accurate story is.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He stated to me that there was a crack also in the directional that could have been caused from the bike going over. There was a dent in the tank
so
that was
now you didn't only go over a speed bump, you went over a speed bump and the bike fell over.
No.
Well, you just said the bike fell over. So you want to tell me which one it is?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Michael Fiscarelli says motorcycle repairman Ty Birchfield damaged his motorcycle while he was attempting to repair it.
I needed a battery replaced. And while the battery was being replaced, the defendant said he could get out a minor dent in the gas tank. That's not the story you're telling me now, sir. I just don't know what the accurate story is. From reading your complaint, it suggested that the only thing your bike needed was a new battery. Well, that's easy. I don't have bikes, but I have cars. New battery, you pop one out, you put another one in, finished. That's not going over a speed bump and a bike being rendered inoperable because the whole bottom side of the bike is messed up.
Correct.
Well, so you want to tell me which one it is? Did you need a new battery, or was the bottom part of your bike messed up and inoperable?
That's where I sent to his shop to have a diagnosis done. He had stated that there's a possibility that the frame could be cracked out of adjustment, out of line, and in essence, it could be actually deemed inoperable.
Mr. Fiscarelli, he kept your bike for a long time. You were dissatisfied with the result ultimately. You ultimately, according to what I've read in these papers at least, were able to ride the bike out of his shop, at least for 10 minutes. Is that correct? Yes, that's correct. You had it towed in, but you were able to ride it out for at least 10 minutes. Is that correct? That's either a yes or a no. Did he ever drive the bike out of your shop?
Yes, ma'am.
Of course you did.
Yeah, after we replaced the battery, Your Honor. And the insurance company had a problem with how does this happen with the battery. So I turned around and I explained to the insurance company. I said, okay, there is also a jolt on the bike. He had stated to me that if the frame could be off, he was going to do a diagnostic on it. I filed the claim. I turned around, withdrew the claim from the insurance company because he had stated to me that the frame was fine. I said, okay. I picked up the bike and I drove it away. There was a dent in the tank. I had explained to him, he stated to me that there was a crack also in the directional that could have been caused from the accident, from the bike going over. There was a dent in the tank
so
that was
now you didn't only go over a speed bump, you went over a speed bump and the bike fell over.
No.
Well, you just said the bike fell over.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Have you been cheated? Go to judgejudy.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
So now you didn't only go over a speed bump, you went over a speed bump and the bike fell over.
No.
Well, you just said the bike fell over.
When we parked the bike at night...
You just said the bike fell over, Mr. Fiscarelli.
We caught the bike, Your Honor. The bike went over to its side. We had parked the bike that night because we could not start the bike. We left it at a bar that night. The next day, we had the tow company come out, tow it to my house. The next day, I had him pick up the bike.
Mr. Fiscarelli.
Yes, ma'am.
How much did you pay Mr. Birchfield to fix your bike?
Basically nothing at this point.
You paid him nothing, correct?
Correct.
And you took the bike someplace else?
Correct, after he destroyed my tank.
I don't know that, sir. And who's this?
This is my wife.
Yeah, and she's not a mechanic who's going to testify that he destroyed anything. And you took it someplace else to be fixed.
He agreed to...
No. You took it someplace else to be fixed.
After he destroyed the tank.
Well, I don't know whether he destroyed it, and you don't have an expert here to tell me that. Did you destroy his gas tank?
No, ma'am.
No. Okay. You're not a mechanic, are you? No. Mr. Fiscarelli, you wrote him a check. That's what I gather from reading the papers. And then you reversed the check. So far, am I correct?
Yes.
Then you took the bike someplace else.
After he destroyed my tank.
And you had it fixed. Your case is dismissed. We're done.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
He agreed that he would be able to get the dent out. He blew up the tank with air.
Well, I'd explained to him that there could be damage done to the tank by getting the dent out.
Destroyed the tank. I was driving down the street.
There was, in fact, damage done to the tank. The seam split.
And filled it up with gas, and the gas started spewing in my face.
Picked him up on the side of the freeway. Took the bike back to the shop, replaced the tank.
At this point in time, he basically owed me a tank.
I've got pictures of the finished product, and the bike was operable and looked brand new when he left.
The guy's a crap mechanic.
He was just trying to get somebody else to pay for his bill.
Basically, to never go to him.
Never let the bike go until it's paid for.
Psycho insanity is more like psycho insanity to me.
Now, the next case.
All parties in the matter, Blair versus Moore. Step forward.
Food consultant Gail Blair is suing her cookbook co-author, Christine Moore, for payment for work on the book.
Miss Blair, you have an awful lot of papers there.
Yes, I do.
I know you do. This is what I think your case is about. You and the defendant entered into a business relationship to co-author a book. It was a book about certain foods that you eat to detox your body. You were to do the recipes, and she was to do the text.
Not
She
exactly.
was to do, who was to do the recipes?
Joint.
And you were to do the...
Both of us contributed to the recipes, and my part was intellectual property, and then the cost of production.
Intellectual property is a ridiculous statement.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You work for hours. Nobody buys the product. I don't want a game show. I don't want a talk show. I don't want another court show. I don't want another Survivor show. And you've done all the work and you can't sell it. We don't get paid for the hours. Do you understand?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Food consultant Gail Blair says cookbook co-author Christine Moore owes for her work on the book. Christine is countersuing for book costs and legal fees.
Now, Miss Moore, if you create a recipe, it's an intellectual property. The fact that you do it in a clinic and use a certain methodology, that is also an intellectual property if it's unique. But it's no more unique than creating a recipe. Do you understand? No, I don't know you understand. So I'm going to make this case very simple. According to you, you contributed recipes and she tried to publish the book without giving you appropriate attribution.
Correct.
Did you publish the book?
Yes.
Did you make any money?
No.
Did you sell any copies?
None for profit. Not true. It's on Amazon.
Show me.
The Amazon placement is the E1. I have the email that says I ceased and desisted of the hard copy of the book.
Just a second. Is what you're telling me you purchased the book online?
Yep.
I'd like to see it. Okay, well, clearly she purchased this book.
Yep.
Not a yup, that's a yes.
Yes.
Clearly?
Yes.
Clearly she purchased this book. And she has a receipt that she purchased the book online less than a month ago.
Correct.
And your agreement with her was that this was a partnership wherein she would contribute the recipes and be co-author on this book.
No.
Well, you tell me what your agreement was.
Our agreement over a glass of wine was I already had recipes.
Just a second. Tell me when it took place.
It was in, I'm going to say on the book. I'd known her for probably a year before we started the book, and I was reticent. She had been...
Now, don't tell me you were reticent.
Okay.
You had known her for about a year.
Yes,
you said before we started the book.
Before we started talking about the book.
No, we started the book. Let's go.
Okay.
Sitting over a drink. And?
Okay. And there was a agreement that we would both contribute recipes. She was going to fill in and create recipes, not copy and paste.
Just a second.
I was going to create recipes. We both had time involved, and then I was the professional part of it that leads the detox and the finances behind it. And after we would receive a profit, then we would split all monies 50-50. That was our agreement.
Just a second. Sounds perfectly reasonable. How much money did you put into the book?
$4,500.
For what?
Production and editing.
How much did you contribute to the book?
In hours?
No. In cash money.
In cash money? That wasn't part of our agreement. I didn't contribute any money.
So the answer would be zero.
Zero.
And how much profit did you make from the book?
Zero.
How much profit did you make on the book?
Zero.
You're not entitled to any money. That wasn't your agreement. Your agreement was once she covered her expenses, you would share the profits 50-50. You made no profit. You get no money.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Listen, having written a few books, I know that there's cost of editing, there's cost of photography. There are all different kinds of costs that have to be covered before you start to make a profit. That was your agreement. It's a very simple thing. There was no profit. Correct?
Correct.
We're done. Thank you.
Ma'am, may I please address? I would really request a release so that I may further do the cookbook.
No way. This is all about cash. That's what I have to determine. You want to decide on intellectual property? Go someplace else. You had a contract. You were supposed to make half the profits after she cut even.
That was not our agreement.
Well, I think that it was your agreement.
That means my work is not worth anything.
Your work is worth nothing if the work doesn't produce anything. Listen, I work in an industry where you can produce things that are fantasies in your mind. You try to put them down and put them on tape. You work for hours. Nobody buys the product. 99% of what we make, nobody buys. I don't want a game show. I don't want a talk show. I don't want another court show. I don't want another Survivor show. And you've done all the work and you can't sell it. That doesn't mean you get any profit. We don't get paid for the hours. Do you understand? You take a chance. You went into business, you took a chance. You didn't make any money. We're done. Thank you.
These are excused when they step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I'm glad to have it all just put to bed.
Know the person's integrity that you're working with, because I think character has more to do with anything else in contracts.
All parties in the matter of Dowdell versus Mitchell Adams. Step forward.
Lindsay Dowdell is suing her former friends, Clarence Mitchell and his girlfriend, Rebecca Adams, for running into her car in her own driveway.
I want everybody to think very carefully when they respond to this question. Please raise your hand if you were drinking on the night of November 24th, 2017. Raise your hand. You were the only one not drinking.
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. You were all together.
Yes,
ma'am. Yes.
No, ma'am. I'm sorry. He was not present, Mr. Dowdell.
He was not present,
At
but
the
you had been
accident, no.
drinking.
Yes, I was.
He was inside of our house.
Sure, just a second. You had been drinking.
Yes, I went home early.
Okay. And you had been drinking.
Yes, ma'am.
And you had been drinking.
Yes, ma'am.
And where had you all been?
At my mother's house.
Okay. Now, does anybody dispute the fact that the plaintiff was not drinking?
I do.
You do. Okay. And you are?
I'm Rebecca.
Okay. So you were all at her mother's house. And I want you to tell me about the 24th and the plaintiff's drinking.
We were all playing card games. It was Thanksgiving, and we had Thanksgiving dinner at her house, her mother's house. And we were, after dinner, we were playing a card game with her family and the two of us. And we all were drinking.
Be careful.
I'm sorry.
No.
Yes.
That's not an answer. I want you to tell me specifically what you recall about the plaintiff's drinking.
I remember playing cards and her having a drink, as well as me. I mean,
You remember her getting it? You remember yourself getting it?
I remember her getting her own in the kitchen.
Now, your turn.
I was still cooking and getting the food ready to take over to my mom's house. We had already been to 3 other locations that day. He called me while I was in the process of getting the food ready, said they were hanging out. Did we want to? I said, sure, invited him to come over to my house and then us go to my mother's house. She brought a pint, which is a small bottle, so there was only enough for each of them to have like 2 shots apiece. They finished the pint at my house.
You didn't tell me why you were certain that you had nothing to drink that day.
I was exhausted. I had been cooking all day. We had been going all over the place. I have 4 children. It just wasn't something that I wanted to do. I had to work the next day.
How old are your children?
18, 11, 8, and 7.
Okay, great. Now, I'd like you to tell me what happened on that date, because it is your claim that they caused an automobile accident. Your car was damaged. Tell me about it.
We decided to play cards, as she said. We were playing cards. We went to leave my mom's house. My husband left about 10 minutes prior. He wanted to go home and take a shower. We were still finishing our card game.
Okay, he had been drinking.
Yes, ma'am.
Did he drive home?
He did.
Okay. Not a good thing for him to have done.
Exactly.
Okay, go.
I was gathering up the leftovers to take back to my house, gathering up my children, etc. We got in the truck. We went to leave.
Whose truck?
I got in my truck, they got in their truck. He's following behind me. I started to go up and around my turnaround. It's a slight hill. He proceeded to go through the grass that's in the middle of my turnaround and wasn't paying attention and hit the side of my car.
May I see the photograph of the damage to your truck?
Yes, ma'am. That's my truck the next day. That's the night of.
All right, so it's clear that you were hit on the passenger
side.
You
can see the streets
you could see
going that way.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I don't know why you didn't go through your insurance.
Ma'am, she filed a claim with my insurance company and
I
they denied
filed a
it.
claim against them and they denied it.
Because they told him a different story. I don't believe that your car slid into his.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lindsay Dowdell says former friends Clarence Mitchell and girlfriend Rebecca Adams are responsible for a car accident in her driveway.
Now, Mr. Mitchell, you were driving?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
You were driving. And understand that I've seen a picture of the damage to her truck.
Yes, ma'am.
And the dent. So it's clear that someone hit her truck and made that sort of indentation and damage. It's not a scrape.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand? So now I want you to tell me your version of the events. You can go over there.
All right, yes, ma'am. Excuse me. All right, Lindsay pulled in and she was parked here as that vehicle. I pulled in and parked in here because we were only stopping by for Rebecca to get her purse to head back home and to drop her daughter off. I was already parked. She was here.
No. She's in front of you.
Yes, ma'am.
She's in front of you, and you're following her.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Okay. I'm following her. We come in. She comes in up here. I pull in behind her and park here, and she parks up there. As we park, then she gets out, and she couldn't get in the house with her keys. She comes back to her vehicle, jumps in, pulls off, and grinds. That's right, just like that. But she grinds against us, hits the front left of it, which I have photos as well, that shows you that she grinds on there, hits us, comes up, and stops right here.
You mean she slid into you, is what I'm asking you?
Yes, ma'am.
So she had to slide into you from the side, like the wheels turned and she slid. Okay.
No, ma'am.
Just a second.
Oh, sorry.
I'll see the pictures.
Okay.
I have pictures of his truck that night that shows that he was actually in my grass. There's gravel to the side of his vehicle showing that he was clearly in my yard. He wasn't even on my driveway anymore.
I would just like to see the picture of what he's trying to show me, what he's trying to explain to me.
Can I try and explain
it? No.
Okay.
I want to see the damage to your car.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Did you take a picture in the daylight of the damage to your car?
I did not, ma'am, because I was not concerned about the damage to my car.
Okay,
no, that's not my
fine. Can I see an estimate, please, for the damage to your car? No, it's useless. She wasn't concerned about the damage to her car. Now, did you have the car fixed?
I have not had it fixed yet.
Okay, and I assume that it's a 2011 car. Denali, yes. You do not have insurance to cover collision.
Oh, it's full coverage, but I would have to pay my $1,000 deductible, and then my rates would go up, and I don't feel I should have to raise my rates because he was irresponsible.
That's what you have to do. So you have to go through your insurance, and I don't know why you didn't go through your insurance.
I didn't have the
She
$1,000.
she filed a claim with my insurance company and
Yeah, I
they denied
filed a
it.
claim against them and they denied it.
Because they told him a different story. I don't
Right.
believe that your car slid into his. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
She made her decision, and I just live with the decision that she made.
I'm pleased that they were proven to be wrong.
She always was a good friend, and at the end of the day, justice was what it was.
If they would have reached out to me and tried to handle this outside of here, we wouldn't have had to come here.
Everybody's going to walk away happy.
Real friends wouldn't do what they did.
I was so unsatisfied with the service, and I found out at that point that they weren't licensed.
Getting work on her eyebrows was an eye-opener.
If I can explain this, it's a little bit confusing.
It's not confusing to me at all. You shouldn't have been performing a service unless you had the license.
Now, is she hoping for blind faith from the judge?
I want to see what your eyebrows looked like right after they were done.
I don't have a photo of that, ma'am.
Why not?
Judge Judy.
You are about to enter the courtroom of Judge Judith Scheindlin. This is Judge Judy.
Candace Tucciarelli is suing Wellness Center owner Nicholas Parasson for negligence and medical bills as a result of a microblading treatment to her eyebrows.
Order. All rise. Now it's case number 91 on the calendar, the matter of Tucciarelli versus Parasson.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat.
Ms. Tucciarelli, the defendant has some sort of a spa salon.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me what services you provide there, Mr. Parashaw.
Our wellness clinic, we provide about 8 different services, naturopathic medicine, acupuncture, massage.
Slow. You provide 8 services.
Yes, ma'am.
What services do you provide?
Naturopathic medicine.
What is that?
It's holistic health care.
And what kind of a license do you need to practice that?
I have a license in Washington State.
Is that where your shop is?
No, it's in Ohio.
Your shop is in Ohio?
Correct. Ohio does not license naturopathic physicians at this time. Correct. So I'm more or less I'm sorry.
My question, your answer.
Okay.
So Ohio, which is where the shop is, where the plaintiff went, does not require a license for this homeopathy, whatever, that she didn't avail herself of. What else do you provide?
Acupuncture.
Acupuncture. Do you need a license for acupuncture in the state of Ohio?
Yes.
Do you have one?
I don't, but my acupuncturist does.
Raise your hand if you're the acupuncturist.
She's not here.
Okay. And her name is?
Lauren.
And she has a license in the state of Ohio.
She does.
What other services do you provide?
Massage.
You need a license for massage?
Yes.
In Ohio?
Yes.
Do you have one?
I don't, but my massage therapist does.
And massage therapist's name?
Amanda.
That's you.
Evil.
You have a license?
I do.
Current?
Yes.
Good. What else do you provide?
Colon hydrotherapy.
What is that?
It's a colonoscopy preparation procedure to clean out the large intestine.
And do you need a license for that?
Yes.
Do you have one?
I don't, but my colon hydrotherapist does.
Not one of you people?
No.
What else do you provide?
I'm drawing a blank. What else do we provide? Reflexology.
Well, one of the things that you provided was something that the plaintiff availed herself of, which was tattooing of the eyebrows.
Yes, ma'am. It's not technically tattooing. It's semi-permanent tattooing, whereas tattooing is permanent.
And do you need a license for that?
Yes.
Do you have that?
We didn't have it at the time.
Did not. So the answer is no.
Right.
And the therapist who performed the procedure on the plaintiff also was unlicensed.
She had a training certificate. If I can explain this, it's a little bit confusing.
She also didn't have it's not confusing to me at all. We went through a whole menu of things that you provide, some of which require a license and some don't. For the things that require a license in the state of Ohio, you had a technician who had that license. That's what you told me. You named some, one was here. Person who did the tattooing or semi-permanent color or whatever it was, you do require a license. You didn't have one, and neither did the technician who performed the procedure on the plaintiff. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That person's name is?
Amanda Giebel.
Is that you? That's you. You do a lot of things.
I do.
You do acupuncture and tattoo?
Not acupuncture. I do massage.
Massage. Stand up. What did you have to do to get a training license?
I went to school in...
Date? And I'd like to see a copy of your training license.
October 27th of 17.
I went to school at American Microblading Academy in New York City for 4 days.
Okay, so can I see the training license? This isn't anything.
One of them is a certificate of training, and the other
This
one...
doesn't say anything about the state of Ohio.
That's what the accredited school gives the people who go through the training.
The state of Ohio requires a license. You're going to have to show me something that she had a training license, which under the rules in Ohio allowed this young woman, while she had a training license, I don't know what you need from a training license to a regular license, to do a procedure.
What they required from
Don't tell me what they required. Show me. Show me a statute. Show me a rule. Show me something.
It's murky, to be honest with you,
It's not
Your Honor.
murky. It's not murky that if you want to perform a colonoscopy on somebody, you need a license. And if you want to do massage on somebody, which is not a permanent or a semi-permanent process, it's massage, you need a license. If you want to give somebody a pedicure, you need a license. You need a license to give somebody a manicure. I mean, I see them whenever you go in for a manicure. You see, licensed by. If you need a license to do those things that are not permanent or semi-permanent, it would seem to me if Ohio requires a license, you shouldn't have been performing a service unless you had the license. You would agree with that, sir?
I would agree with it, but...
Fine. Good. Now, you're not here because you didn't have a license. You're here because she was dissatisfied with the service and had to have it removed and redone. That's what she's suing for. The fact that you didn't have a license is per se negligence on your part. But the fact that you did the procedure and she was dissatisfied with it suggests to me that you all aren't getting it, because she had come into your spa or whatever your center is previously and had other services, right?
Yes.
Ma'am.
Satisfied.
Yes, ma'am, very.
Satisfied. She wasn't a nut. Who performed the services and what did you have done?
I went to Dr. Flynn starting in 2015 to 2017 for...
Who's Dr. Flynn?
She is one of the licensed board-certified naturopathic physicians there. That's what first introduced
He says
me.
nobody is board-certified.
Me and Dr. Flynn are licensed in a different state. We're not licensed in Ohio because there's no licensing laws in Ohio.
You didn't know that?
I didn't know that.
Well, now you know.
I know.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
What else did you have?
I've had facials, numerous facials.
Satisfied?
Very. Everybody there was
Not
awesome.
a nut.
I put good reviews on the services.
When did you have the eyebrow procedure?
December 11th, 2017.
You performed the service?
Yes, I did, ma'am.
Why?
After my training in school, they sent me home and told me that I needed to...
Listen to me. Don't tell me what anybody told you.
Okay.
You can go to medical school and never be licensed to practice medicine in a state because you can't pass the boards.
Right.
You can go to dental school. You can go to law school for 3 years and never pass a bar. That means you can't practice law. So...
Your Honor, can I make a comment?
What?
If there is a license to do this in Ohio, then we're not aware of it, honestly. I said that there was, but according to the tattoo license board, if you have something, Candace,
I do.
show it to me. I'm not...
Yeah,
We weren't
but I
aware.
don't understand that.
We thought that was the license that she received from the school. It said she is licensed to do this in Ohio.
Oh, I don't even think that you believe that.
Well, she went
I don't
to an
believe.
accredited...
I mean, that's something that they give you on close the cover before you strike law school. You wouldn't let somebody like that represent you if you were charged with murder. Oh, here, I went to this law school. Here, I'm going to get a match out and open up the cover.
What you have to have is what the way I understand it is a tattoo license is what I understand.
Well, if you need a tattoo license and you didn't have a tattoo license, what I'm trying to understand, she's going to show me pictures. You have a business, clearly, based upon what you tell me, sir. You have a business that's been thriving for a while in the state of Ohio. You have a customer come in who is a good customer and has been coming to your center for years. Now she comes in and she says, I'm really dissatisfied. I had this service. She's going to show me pictures. I'm really dissatisfied. And not only that, if it's murky, for me, as a business owner, you would want to say, the last thing I want to do is irritate this good customer. So I'm going to give her back her money. I'm going to pay for having it redone.
We did. We gave her back the money that she paid to have the procedure done. And then we offered to have another experienced practitioner that was licensed to come in and do a touch-up on her and fix the procedure on our dime.
Just a second.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you say to her, go wherever you feel comfortable now, because we screwed up. And
I didn't tell her not to go anywhere. We gave her one resource that we had that got...
No, not one resource that you had. If I went to a doctor because I had a broken arm, and the doctor set my arm, and I went for an x-ray 2 weeks later, the x-ray showed that they had set my arm wrong. The doctor said, you know, it's true, I set your arm wrong. And I could understand that if you don't want me to break and reset your arm, go to whoever you like and we'll pay the bill.
Your Honor.
What?
Can I add something to that?
Sure. I don't know who you are. So far, you didn't raise your hand for anything.
I'm Dawn, the operations manager, and I did speak to Candy after her procedure. She called the clinic on the 8th to say she was dissatisfied. I reached out to her. I left her a message.
The 8th of what?
Pardon me?
The 8th of what?
1/8 of this year, okay. January 8th. She called to say she was unhappy with her procedure. I did reach out to her that day immediately and left her a message. We have proof. I called her. I reached out to Amanda immediately to let her know she was dissatisfied. Amanda reached out to her as well, which we have proof, and texted her. Then she came into the clinic for acupuncture. I went and spoke with her, said I was relieved. From the note, I thought it was going to look bad. I expressed that it didn't look bad, and she said, oh yeah, it is. It's covered up. And I said, Candy, I apologize. We'll bring in somebody on our dime experienced. I gave her a name, a number, asked her to send photos as well so Amanda could submit them and just see what it was she was unhappy with.
I'd like to see the photos. Very good, you get me the photos.
The photos from my plastic surgeon?
No, I want to see the photos of what it looked like on the 7th of January.
She didn't take photos.
You, not she, you.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
So you did have tattooing there?
Yes, ma'am.
And you know how your body changes after 10 years. Your eyes change.
Yes, ma'am.
Everything changes.
Yes, ma'am.
Go up, go down.
Up, down.
You
yes,
want it to keep. You want to keep it all the same.
Yes,
you have to see a plastic surgeon every month.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Candace Tucciarelli says wellness center owner Nicholas Parasad is responsible for her medical bills as a result of a botched microblading treatment at his facility.
Now, I want to see what your eyebrows looked like right after they were done.
I don't have a photo of that, ma'am.
Why not?
I didn't think I needed to have one. At that point in January, I didn't think that a picture was necessary. I was then told to go to a plastic surgeon.
I want to see, on what date did you first take a picture of your
January 26th, ma'am.
January 26th. Can I see a photo?
Yes, ma'am.
That's more than a photo?
The photos are in here, ma'am.
Just show me a photo.
Yes, ma'am. There it
Can
is.
I also...
There's January 26th.
I just want to...
Okay.
This was a month later, a
Yes,
month
ma'am.
after you, about a month, 4
Yes,
weeks
ma'am.
later.
Your Honor, she also had permanent tattooing that she expressed she was unhappy with 10 years prior. It had faded and was a different color.
That's not true.
You wrote it on your intake form.
That's not true.
I cannot understand why you wouldn't take a picture the day that you called them and said, I'm dissatisfied. For the life of me, I can't. Did they give you your money back?
Yes, ma'am. I was told when I called that it's expected to be darker and not look its best for a couple weeks. So it was darker and it looked horrible.
Well, if it looked horrible, you know, when I get a bruise on my hand.
Yes, ma'am.
And if it was caused by somebody else's negligence, I walk around with an iPhone just like you do.
Yes, ma'am.
Snap a picture. If I were that upset.
I didn't think it was negligent at the time because I went. Yes,
Your Honor.
You got what I'm saying to you?
Yes, I do.
Fine. So they gave you your money back.
Can I explain?
Is your plastic surgeon here?
No.
Then you have no case. Because
we asked her to come. She didn't want to.
Let me go back.
Here's pictures.
Let me go back to something else. Is this the first time you had your eyebrows tattooed? Whatever they do to semi-permanently put on eyebrows. Is this the first time you had it done?
Microblading, yes, ma'am.
Yes. Had you ever had any tattooing there?
Yes, ma'am, 10 years ago.
So you did have tattooing there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you know how your body changes after 10 years. Your
Yes,
eyes
ma'am.
change.
Yes, ma'am.
Everything changes.
Yes, ma'am.
Go up, go down.
Up, down,
You
yes,
want it
ma'am.
to keep. You want to keep it all the same.
Yes,
you have
ma'am.
to see a plastic surgeon every month. So it was actually your mistake. If you were so dissatisfied, then what you do is you take a picture of it so that you can memorialize it. They did the right thing by offering you your money back. I feel much more compassionate towards them when the manager says that she said she would bring in somebody on their dime. Did she say that to you to fix it?
She said that they would.
Let me tell you, I believe her.
She did say that they would
Fine.
bring someone in, that they would provide the service again. At that point, I was so unsatisfied with the service, and I found out at that point that they weren't licensed. So I said,
Honor,
I
I
don't
would've
want to
paid
have
for
someone in your
anybody.
facility who isn't licensed do another procedure at that point.
We would have paid for anybody, but she went to a plastic surgeon, Your Honor.
Well, just a
and-
second. I think actually she's allowed to do that. Now, how much did the plastic surgeon charge you?
For each laser removal, it was $225.
Okay. And how many did you have?
Up to this point, I've had 7.
I'd like to see the bill so far.
Yes, ma'am. These are the procedure notes with each date highlighted.
That's $15.75.
Ma'am, here's the statute in Ohio for your reference for tattooing license.
Your problem with me is that you didn't take photographs of what it looked like, and
Yes,
you had had a
ma'am.
procedure on your eyebrows before, and you don't have the plastic surgeon here for me to inquire
Yes, ma'am.
as to whether the procedures that they're doing took care of some old tattooing that was still there, plus what they did. I have no idea.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Are you being serious with me? Because the building is zoned for tattooing? That means you can do tattooing? I mean, it could also be zoned to do eye surgery. Does that mean you could do eye surgery in your
We did
facility?
all the steps leading up into it, as well with the
You
EPA.
don't
and
have a license.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Candace Tucciarelli is asking Wellness Center owner Nicholas Parison to pay medical bills resulting from a botched microblading treatment.
Your problem with me is that you didn't take photographs of what it looked like, and
Yes,
you had had a
ma'am.
procedure on your eyebrows before.
Yes, ma'am.
And you don't have the plastic surgeon here for me to inquire
Yes, ma'am.
as to whether the procedures that they're doing took care of some old tattooing that was still there, plus what they did. I have no idea. So,
Ma'am, she signed an informed consent form also that explains all of this. If you've had tattooing done beforehand, it can
doesn't
affect
matter.
the outcome.
It doesn't
Okay.
matter. You do understand. Your problem is you performed a procedure on her.
I understand.
You returned her money, and I can understand if she didn't want to let someone else from your facility do the same procedure.
weren't from our facility,
So
actually.
far, it's going to cost you $1,575. She's allowed to go to a plastic surgeon if that's what she wants to do. She wants to go to the best, she can go to the best. You licensed now?
Yes, she has, well,
No.
she has that license.
No, that license is
She's
no
not
good.
doing the procedure in my
Just-
office.
What are you showing me?
A letter from the Department of Health.
Don't show me a letter from the Department of Health. You so far told me you've had 7 procedures. I
Yes,
believe you with $225 apiece.
Yes, ma'am.
That's $1,575.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what it is. And they gave you back the money for the procedure.
Honor,
What?
we were zoned.
What?
So I do have an email. We were zoned to do tattooing.
I don't know
no,
what you
it's
mean,
not a
zoned.
license, but our facility was zoned to do the procedures.
No, just because you can. Are you being serious with me? Because the building is zoned for tattooing? That means you can do tattooing?
Well, no.
I mean, it could also be zoned to do eye surgery. Does that mean you could do eye surgery in your
We did
facility?
all the steps leading up into it, as well with the
You
EPA.
don't
and
have a license.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The boss says you don't do the procedure anymore because you don't have a license, right?
We're not doing it anymore.
Right. Until you get a license. Or maybe never. But I don't think that they did the wrong thing. And I think that you did an unwise thing by not taking a photograph of what you were complaining about. So I have to guess what is as a result of the old tattooing that you had and what's a result of this microblading that you had, which is semi-permanent.
Yes, ma'am.
But right now, the wisest thing for them to have done was to pay so far for the plastic surgeon, which is $1,575. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're done.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
It was completely out of line. It was way above where an eyebrow would even be considered to be placed.
She kept coming back to our clinic after she had her crazy eyebrows.
And when the technician came in, she told me she was licensed and certified.
There's no licensing laws for it's a new procedure.
I had to start wearing a baseball cap to work.
It's a murky situation.
Because I looked crazy.
I mean, we did everything we could to help her.
I was very unhappy, very scared.
We offered to redo the procedure.
As I was happy with the facility and was going to a licensed doctor,
I'm glad she's happy.
I will never go back.
Suing her great-granddaughter, Angelina Marshall, and her daughter, Angela Nori, for writing fraudulent checks.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2169, Gatlin versus Marshall Nuri.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Gatlin.
Right here.
Who's Marshall? This is your grandmother.
Great-grandmother.
Great-grandmother.
Yes, Your Honor.
Would you have a seat for a moment? Yes.
Thank you.
And this is your...
My great-aunt.
Your first name is Angelina?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you said that this was your great-aunt?
No, she's my great-grandmother, and then the other lady is my great-aunt.
No. Who is the plaintiff?
My great-grandmother.
Oh, that's what it says in the complaint. I didn't understand it when you said that was my great-aunt.
Sorry.
Okay. How old are you today?
I'm 18.
When did you turn 18?
September 24th.
Prior to your turning 18, you had a job?
Yes.
Doing what?
Being a food associate worker.
How long were you working there?
I was there for 5 months.
And how much were you making an hour?
$17.
Who were you living with?
My grandmother.
And Miss Gatlin, is Miss Nuri your daughter?
Yes, she's my oldest daughter, yes.
That's what I thought. Because you were working, you wanted to start a bank account.
Yes. Yes, Your Honor.
And you asked your great-grandmother whether she could help you do that because you needed a cosigner.
No, she actually offered if...
Okay, well, tell me about it.
Well, I was helping her move some stuff into our apartment, and then...
You were helping her with?
I was helping her move some of her stuff into our apartment, because at the current time, she needed to live with us, and I was helping her out.
Your great-grandmother was going to be living with you?
Yes.
And what month was that?
June.
June of?
2022.
So you were helping her move some of the things into your house?
Yes.
And?
And, well, we were at the bank because she wanted to withdraw some money for, well, I don't really know what she was doing, but... Yes, I do work, Your Honor.
For whom?
I work for Securitex.
And that's where you deposit your paychecks?
Yes, my paychecks are directly deposited. That is correct.
Okay, so now you're traveling with your great-grandmother around, and she had to go in and make a deposit or a withdrawal.
Yes.
And?
Well, I was sitting there waiting for her to finish. And, well, while we were waiting for a teller to open up for her before she went outside, she asked me if I would like to open a savings account. And, well, I really didn't need one, but I was like, yeah, sure, so I can at least have my checks go somewhere.
Well, what were you doing with your checks before that?
I would just take them to the bank.
Was that the bank that they were drawn on?
Yes.
Okay, so you were taking them to the bank that they were drawn on to cash. Okay, but this was a more convenient bank?
Yes. She said it would help me with my credits. I'm like, yeah, sure, since she wants to help out.
Okay, so you had some paychecks that you were putting in there?
Yes.
Those are not the checks that are at issue. How long did you put your paychecks into the bank? That was now a joint savings account with you and your great-grandmother, starting in June. Excuse me, what? Was that the one?
It actually started in May, Your Honor.
May of 2022.
Yes, and to go back a little bit, Angelina, yes, I was living with my oldest daughter. Angelina came to me one night and she said, Granny, she said, can you help me open a bank account? And I said, well, we'll see. So she happened to be with me that particular day when I went to take care of transaction. And I said, hey, let's see if we can open your account that you asked me about. And the young lady asked her how old she was. She said 17. She said, well, unfortunately,
We needed a co-signer.
Yeah, she said, Miss Gatlin, she said, since you've been banking with us for a while, Angelina can open up a junior account on your account. So I said, oh, okay.
Great. So it was opened in May?
It was open May.
Great.
May the 11th.
And you put your paychecks in there?
Yes.
And you withdrew from your paychecks what you needed to live?
Yes.
Is that what happened?
Yes, Your Honor.
But then there came some checks that you weren't quite sure of how they originated. They were not your paychecks. What checks were those?
They were some checks that a family member gave to me.
No, not a family member. Not a family member. Your father gave to you.
Yes.
When did your father give you these checks?
I gonna say maybe July. I'm not too sure.
When did you see your father?
Well, he's in and out of our lives a lot. We never really talked to him when he was around, but maybe about...
No, look at me and tell me how it is that your father gave you checks, which turned out to be bad, to put in your account, your bank account.
Well, he was just trying to help out with...
No, not just trying to help out. I want you to tell me where you received the checks, what he said to you when he gave you the checks, and I assume he did not give you the checks all at one time.
No, he didn't.
Gave them to you intermittently?
Yes.
So tell me when he gave you the first check. Was that in July?
Yes.
Where was he?
We were at my house.
With?
My grandmother.
With your grandmother. She likes him?
Yes.
And what happened when he was at your house in July?
Well, he came over to check up on us, the family. And he's like, Angelina, do you need some money? I said, yeah, Dad, to help out with the bills. He's like, okay, here, cash this. And like, I didn't
No.
ask.
What happened when your grandmother told you that the checks were bad?
I was like, oh, know about it. I'm like, okay. She's like, are you going to pay it so it won't come back on me? I'm like, yes, I will pay it.
I'm talking very fast.
Maud Gatlin claims her 18-year-old great-granddaughter, Angelina Marshall, used her account to cash fraudulent checks.
Okay, now, according to you, your father's been in and out of prison.
Yes.
How long had he been out of prison when he came to the house?
I'm going to be honest, I don't know, because he's honestly very in and out of jail a lot. So I don't really keep track of how many times he gets out and then...
Well, I'm just asking, when they came to your house in July, had he been in jail in June, in April?
April.
May?
April.
He'd been in jail in April. In May?
No, he was not in jail.
Where was he working?
He wasn't working anywhere.
He wasn't working in May?
No, he does his own thing.
I don't know what that means. I don't know what that, good. Was he working in May? Was he working in June?
No.
When you say he was doing his own thing, this own thing that he was doing did not produce paychecks.
I don't get into my father's business. So I wouldn't know.
So you took these checks. Do you have a copy of the check? Anybody have a copy of the first check from?
I only have one.
All four of them is there.
Well, first of all, I don't see any signature on here.
On the first one, there isn't. On the 3560, Your Honor, there isn't.
No, on 600, 1200.
There isn't any signature on any of them. It's just that she wrote her name on it and screenshot them into the accounts.
Now.
And I do have the breakdown. I'm sorry.
Just a second.
Okay.
I do have these checks starting to be deposited in August, one on the 11th, two written to you on the van, and they're made out to you, right?
Yes.
You're not a stupid person, right?
No.
I want you to tell me who Suzanne is.
I wouldn't know. I swear my dad just gave them to me and told me to cash them.
Well, Miss Marshall, you have checks that are made out to you from a person that you don't know, not from one of your work checks. It's made out to you. It's signed by somebody who you work for. It indicates the number of hours on the stub. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
This is written by somebody that you have no idea who it is. Now, a person with a modicum of intelligence that has an unsigned check would say, who is Suzanne? Are you telling me that you didn't ask that question?
No.
No. Now, when you signed the checks, because they had to be signed, right?
Yes.
Whose name did you sign?
My name.
Well, the checks are made out to you, which means you could have cashed them. Am I missing something? So her name was docu-signed on these checks, and she merely endorsed them? Is that what you're telling me?
Basically, what I'm seeing from what the bank told me, she put her name on it, put the amount that she wanted to withdraw, did a screenshot, and got the money.
Okay. Now, there did come a time when you found out that these checks were bad checks, right?
Yes.
And that they were going to hold your great-grandmother responsible for those checks because you already took out the cash and you spent it, all of it, not your pay. You may have taken out your pay too. I'm going to ask you a very serious question. Did you give your father any portion of checks that he gave you? Did he say to you, well, this is work that I did for this woman, so if you cash them, you can give me some and you can keep the rest? Think carefully. He just said to you, take these blank checks, fill them in, and deposit them.
No, he's the one that filled them, and he just told me to say, I'm like, I looked at him, I'm like, Dad, are you sure? He's like, trust me, Lena, they're fine. I'm like,
well, why would you trust him? What does he go to jail for?
Way different stuff from the...
Sounds like a dreamboat. Well, so now I'm going to ask you. You took this money out, and what'd you do with it?
Paid bills, bought stuff I needed for my daughter.
Like what?
Diapers, clothes, shoes, saving just in case I needed some more stuff for her, but I really didn't save. Took her to places just to get her out the house, and, well... Also,
well, what happened when your grandmother told you that the checks were bad? Did she tell you at one time that all the checks were bad, or did she tell you over a series of times?
She told me twice. The first time was $400 something. I was like, okay, I didn't know because I was trying to get into my account. I didn't know about it. I'm like, okay. She's like, are you going to pay it so it won't come back on me? I'm like, yes, I will pay it.
You're talking very fast.
Sorry.
I said to my grandmother, and my grandmother said to me, $400 is they're discounting because it was a bad check. And that must have been one of the first checks.
Yes.
And you said?
I told her I will pay it back once my next paycheck goes through.
You will pay back what?
The $400. I'm not exact how much it was, but I know it was $400, maybe
okay.
50 something.
So now you know that the checks that your father was giving you were bad.
Yes.
That's with only $400 in it. Because you said to her, well, I'll pay you back because you've been using that money to take care of you.
Yes.
In addition to the money that you're earning.
Yes.
You were using the money that your great-grandmother was earning to take care of you. So now you find out that the checks are bad, but your father gives you other checks. Did your father give you other checks?
Because once everything started to happen.
No, when he gave you the $400 check and the $400 check was returned, and you said, I will replace it once I get to work. There is more than one check here. Mm-hmm. Why did you continue to deposit checks?
Well, when they all came back to me about, negative this, I was like, okay, what's going on? I checked and it said how the checks were bad. Again, I didn't know that they were bad, so when I saw it, I was like, okay, I had to find a way to pay it back so, my great-grandmother won't get mad and no one else will have to get involved.
Do you want to tell me how much you owe the bank?
Okay, Your Honor. I went to the bank on the 23rd.
No, just tell me how much you owe to the bank.
It's $3,600. That's what they did.
Okay.
At this time, I've been paying on it. At this time, it's $2,300 and some change. I'm sorry.
But you've been paying on it?
Yes, ma'am.
And it started at $3,600.
Yes, ma'am.
Did your great-granddaughter pay you any money towards it?
No, she did not.
Why not?
Well, I was going to pay it back, but then she had my Aunt Janae come into my house and take a lot of my electronics.
I would have said to myself, this doesn't look right. I don't know, or I have to ask my father, who's writing all these checks. Is she somebody he works for? Or is it somebody whose checks he stole?
Maude Gatlin is accusing her 18-year-old great-granddaughter, Angelina Marshall, of cashing fraudulent checks with her account. Angelina claims her electronics were sold to pay for the debt.
Now, she took what electronics?
She took 3 of our TVs.
Now, you bought those TVs with this money?
No, all the stuff that she took was bought way before any of this happened. My PlayStation, my daughter's tablet, my Apple laptop, my daughter's laptop, 2 of my speakers. From what I know she's probably sold a little bit of it. I'm not really sure. Well, then I think that's something you have to take up. You can take that up with your aunt.
And that's how we start putting some of the money into the bank of the $430. It was from some of the electronics.
Okay. So with regard to the $3,900, you paid off $400?
No, it was $3,600. And when I seen it that day, I looked on my phone. It was $3,000 and something. I went to the bank and asked them, what in the world is going on with my account?
No, I got exactly what happened, and I've laid it out. After you sold the electronics that your daughter took.
Yes, Janae.
That your daughter took from their house, and you sold them. How much were you able to put in the bank with the sold electronics?
It was $430, and she didn't take it. She was told to take it.
I don't care whether she took it or not. It doesn't matter to me. $430.
And they deleted all of my different accounts that I had within my accounts of $103 and $107.53. I had other little accounts that.
Just a second, you owed $3,600.
Yes, that's what the
Just
bank
to say,
said.
the bank said, and you put back in to satisfy the bad checks $430.
Exactly.
So what's owed to you is $3,200, $3,270.
And then I put another $100 on it in December because of the fact the credit people came to me and told me if I don't put something.
No.
in this account,
I just want to know what's left.
Okay.
What's left after
today?
3170. Thank you.
3,600 minus the 430.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Okay. As of today, it's $2,252.04.
I am going to make you whole.
Okay.
Not the money that you paid in yourself.
Okay.
What I want to know is how much money you paid in. Zero.
No, I did pay some in because of my paychecks that did go through at the time after everything happened because I did continue working.
No, these were bad checks. These were the bad checks. They're owed $3,600.
Yes, but I did put a little bit of money in.
Well, how much?
Only one of my checks went in, which was probably not even worth $100.
Well, I'm not interested in it.
It was
and I'm not interested in it.
$62 to be exact. Sorry.
I'm not interested in it. Virtually no money, with the exception of perhaps one paycheck, which amounted to about $100, was put in by you.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So the question is whether I believe that, A, you knew or should have known that these were bad checks. And I think you're a pretty smart girl, given your father's history. He gives you these checks, 2 in one day, one's for $1,200, one's for $600, one's for $300. You say, Dad, where'd you get this money from? And if you're putting your money into the bank, your money from work, which is a very good thing, that's fine. But I'm going to save up that money. I'm not going to buy electronics. I'm not going to buy anything else for the house. What I'm going to do is save that money, or at least see what happens with it. So I would have said to myself, this doesn't look right. I don't know, or I have to ask my father, who's writing all these checks. She's somebody he works for, or is it somebody whose checks he stole? Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Great. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,170. Thank you very much. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
What they did to us was way worse than what I did to them.
It was very hurtful, and I'm still in the stress mode about it.
PlayStation, laptops, and speakers.
The truth is, I have a video showing that my niece actually voluntarily gave me all the electronics to be taken care of. She said she was going to do it, and she wasn't going to do it, which is the reason why I took the items to have everything taken care of from my mom.
My thing is, the property that she took, we bought that a couple of years back. And that shouldn't have nothing to do with what's going on now.
We're not happy people. And, to be honest with you, because of the fact that they did our mother like this, we don't have anything to do with them.
Well, all I can say is she'll never see me or my child again. And that's generations going out of her life over some petty stuff that could have been dealt with easily.
I don't know if it can be solved. God will be that answer.
Don't do your family wrong, even as much as you love them, because they raised me with her since I was 4, and they still did me wrong growing up, and they still did me wrong today. You can't trust anyone in your family, but that doesn't mean don't do them wrong.
Because I never thought my family would do this to me.
Another great lesson in the dangers of co-signing anything for a car, for a dog, for a bank account, because I'm sure the great-grandmother plaintiff would not have accepted checks from her previous son-in-law, knowing his background and knowing, at least she would have asked the follow-up question. So I understand the daughter's position of, hey, I know what he's been involved in, I don't want to be involved, but if that's your stance, you can't benefit from taking checks that you know are probably dirty. So, and unfortunately, the grandmother didn't get a crash course from us on the dangers of co-signing on a bank account.
Because they can not only evidently go into your bank, that particular account, but they can attach any other account.
Like she had said, they drained all of her other accounts to fulfill the debt. So there's real dangers in co-signing, even with someone that you love, like your great-granddaughter.
Yeah.
Are suing their former tenants, Carl and Renee Antonucci, for property damage, unpaid rent, and a bathtub.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2154, Hellerman Tway versus Antonucci.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Antonucci, the plaintiff, Miss Hellerman, gave you a job.
Yes.
When?
It was probably February of 2021.
Where had you worked prior to that?
I just worked for myself.
Worked for yourself doing the same?
Cleaning.
Cleaning?
Yes, and I worked for Rite Aid as assistant manager.
And your husband was in prison?
For a year last year.
He was in prison on a 2 to 10 year sentence, correct?
A rider. It's called the rider program, and it's about a 1 year program.
You were convicted in the state of Idaho for what, sir, and when?
It was 2012 was a third DUI.
Mm-hmm. And at that time, you were sentenced to 2 to 10 years.
Oh, correct. Yes. My apologies.
I just read it online, sir. Yeah. It's not a secret. It's out there. So you were sentenced from 2 to 12 with a minimum of 2 years. And the rest of the sentence, you were supposed to be on probation.
Correct.
You violated the probation and you were sent back to prison.
Correct.
And that decision, violating your probation, you appealed.
Correct.
And the appellate court, the highest court in the state of Idaho, affirmed the lower court decision violating your parole.
Probation, yes, correct.
Your probation. And that was just 6 months ago.
No, it was...
February of 2022 is when the opinion was published. Does that sound right?
Yes, the response to that, yes, correct.
Yes. So what was your release date from jail?
It was January 11th.
January 11th of 2022.
Correct.
Now, you had been working for the plaintiff while he was incarcerated, Miss Antonucci, without incident. That be a fair statement? You were happy with them?
I wasn't getting paid enough, but yes.
Nobody's ever getting paid enough. Even I don't get paid enough.
Right.
Everybody thinks they're worth more than they're getting.
Right.
You didn't quit. You didn't complain. Now, at some point, when your husband got out of jail, there was a question about where you were going to live. Were you living in the property in question before he got out of jail?
No.
No. So he was getting out of jail. Where were you living while he was in jail?
I was in Donnelly, Idaho, in our motorhome.
Is there a reason that when he got out of jail, he couldn't go to the motorhome with you?
He did.
And then you tell me how you ended up in their property.
Shauna and Joel took us to dinner, and...
They took you to dinner for what reason?
I don't know, just to take us to dinner.
Well, that was nice.
Yes, it was nice.
Very nice. So far you're working for people that you seem to like. Your husband is incarcerated. He gets out of jail. I assume you told him he was getting out of jail, that that's why he was around now. I assume you told him that he had been in prison.
Yes.
Okay. And they didn't hold that against him. They invited you out for dinner.
Yes.
Tell me how the conversation came up about a new place to live.
We were just talking about moving to Adams County.
Why?
It's just a better situation.
Oh, just a second. Was he required to be in a particular county for his probation?
No.
Now, was he required to live in that county?
No, he's not, unless he puts in...
Well, is there any reason why you put in a request to move after he was released from prison?
Yes, because they offered to talk to Monica about a house that was coming up for rent in Adams County.
Just a second. Who knew about a house? Did you know about a house that was coming up for rent?
No.
Yeah, I'm not getting a sense of forthcoming answers from you. You have somebody who cleans for you, whose husband has been incarcerated, who hasn't been living in any of your property. Now he's coming out of jail, and I want you to tell me how the discussion of a place to live came up. You're out to dinner.
Yes, we invited him out to dinner. We were excited to meet him. They had mentioned they had put in for a change of probation officers.
So he put in a request for a new probation officer.
Yes.
But for the fact that you told them, they would have no way of knowing that you had to move from one place to another. You had to have told them. You put in a request to move.
We were just looking for a place to live.
You approached them and said, do you have a place for us?
No, I did not say that.
Well, then, how did it come about? There was sort of acrimony at the end of your moving out, but I'm going to take one thing at a time. They say that when you moved out, you took a claw bathtub. Did you take the bathtub? The answer is either...
Shauna Hillerman and Monica Tway are accusing their former tenants, Carl and Renee Antonucci, of not paying rent and stealing a tub.
We were friends, and they invited us out to dinner.
Just a
Shauna
second.
and I were friends.
Yes. So this is somebody who's a friend of yours.
And I did not. I cleaned her house very randomly, but I'm with subcontractor. I was not an employee. In fact, I called myself an employee of hers once, and she said, "You're not an employee. You're my friend. You're a subcontractor." So we were at dinner, and we were saying that we were wanting to look for a place to live, and Joel said, "Oh, well, there's a place in Adams County that Monica just bought. I'll talk to her about you guys moving in." And we were fine with living in our motorhome, but it would be nice to have more room. So we were excited about that. That's how we found out about it.
You found out about it because you needed a place to live, that you were moving.
We didn't, well...
That's according to your husband.
As a general contractor, trying to find housing, one of my ideas was, well, let's rent a house, let's rent a place. I need space because I have trailers, I have a flatbed, I have a cargo trailer, I have the 2 vehicles and the Harley. I need a garage, I need a shop. I need to, expand. That's the sole reason for finding a different place. And also trying to save money to buy a home and recover and do all these things, build my business, so forth.
Ultimately, you moved out. There was sort of acrimony at the end of your moving out, but I'm going to take one thing at a time. They say that when you moved out, you took a claw bathtub. I know what those are. They're sort of a decorative old piece. I've had them, they sometimes use them now when they renovate houses and put modern stuff around this claw bathtub. Did you take the bathtub? The answer is either yes or no.
Yes.
Yes.
Of course. You say you took it in the answer. Did you have permission to take it?
Yes.
Yes.
Who gave you permission?
Monica.
Monica, did you give them permission to take it?
Absolutely not. I did not give them permission to take it.
So now I want one of you to tell me when the conversation took place, where it took place, and who was present. One of you is going to talk to me.
When we were about to move in and doing the walk through the residence.
No, just not moving out. You were going to move in, and you moved into the residence in February of 2021? What month?
No, we moved in April.
April of 2022. And you moved out when?
August 21st of 2022, of course.
Okay, so what you tell me a story. In April, you were walking through the premises with the owner.
I was going to do some work on the place too before we moved in, and when we moved in as some of the trade, or I would bill them at a discounted rate. And there was supposed to be a fireplace, a wood stove. Well, really the main reason why I moved into this place was I had a wood stove. The electricity is so hot.
Listen to me.
Going to the house.
I don't care. Bathtub.
Okay.
I don't care about a fireplace. I care about a bathtub.
Okay. Discussion comes out about the bathtub. She says she's not going to plumb it in. She says, if you guys want the tub, you can keep it. You can plumb it in if you want, but I'm not going to plumb it in and deal with it.
Okay, so she said to you, she had this bathtub there that she didn't want to plumb in. I assume that means connect.
Correct, because the
connect to water. Yeah. She didn't want to plumb it in. You can either use it if you want to plumb it in or not. That's what she said to you.
No.
No. Only him.
Have.
No, I didn't hear the word have. You want to read back what he said, please?
He says, discussion comes up about the bathtub. She says, I'm not going to plumb this thing in. She says, if you guys want the tub, you can keep it. You can plumb it in if you want. But, I'm not going to plumb it in and deal with it.
You want to use it, you can use it.
Keep it. Keep it.
If you keep it, not keep it and take it away with you. You're moving in to her house. She said, this bathtub isn't connected to water. You can, if you want to, plumb it in, because according to you, she knew that you were in the construction business, and keep it, or not. But I'm not plumbing it in. And you viewed that 4 months later as saying, I can take the bathtub?
Yeah, there was more discussion about it.
No, let me hear the more discussion about it.
She didn't want the tub.
Just a second. That's a conclusion in your mind, that she didn't want the tub. Based upon what you just said to me, if you're moving into a house, you're moving into a place, that statement that she made, you can keep. It now belongs to you, the bathtub. You can either plumb it in or not. If you want to keep it, plumb it in. If you don't want to keep it, don't plumb it in. Okay, where's the bathtub?
And storage.
They get it back. 5 days.
She said she was going to haul.
5 days.
Thank you, Your Honor.
5. I'll give you an order. Is that all you have to contribute to this case?
Some other witnessing, but that's...
Then, as a witness, you can sit down. You're getting your bathtub back in 5 days.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor.
Good. Now, let's talk about the next thing, which is damages to the duplex. So they moved in April. They paid rent in April?
Yes, they did.
They pay rent in May?
Yes, they did pay for May.
And June?
No, they have not completed their payment for June.
How much was their rent?
$1,200 a month.
How much did they pay in June?
They still have $80 owing, $30 in rent and a $50 late fee.
Okay, I'm not interested. About July?
Nothing.
Was there any rent in July?
No payments, no.
Did you live in the premises in July?
Yes.
You were evicted on 8/21. Up until the 21st of August, were you living in the premises?
Yes.
Did you pay rent in August?
No.
Okay. Now you want to tell me why you stopped paying rent in July?
Yes, on July 10th, there was a flood in the house.
July 10th, there was a flood in the house. From where?
We believe it was a spigot. No one ever told us where it came from.
Well, you're living there. They're not living there, right? You're living
upstairs
there.
Upstairs or...
I'm only going to listen to one person. I'm not talking over each other. Is that you or your wife?
Me.
Fine. You're living there April, May, June. July, there's a leak. I'm living in a house. I know where the leak came. It comes from a ceiling. It comes from a something. Where did the leak come from?
I wasn't home for that. We came home to the flood. I came home to the flood at like 8:40.
Was it coming from the apartment above you?
No, it was not.
Where was it coming from?
I called Monica and I said, oh my God, there's water everywhere in the house. What's going on? She didn't know what was going on. So we were trying to figure out where to turn the water off at.
I'm still trying to figure out, if you lived there in July, why weren't you paying rent?
Shauna Hellerman and Monica Tway claim their former tenants, Carl and Renee Antonucci, owe for unpaid rent and a bathtub. Carl and Renee are countersuing for property damage and loss of income.
Okay, was it coming from the apartment above you?
No, it was not.
Where was it coming from?
Apparently it was a broken plumbing pipe from the front spigot leaked underneath the house and came up through the subfloor.
So there was a broken internal pipe, as far as you know. Now, your husband's in the construction business, he says. So when the flood happened, did you try to find the source of the flood?
I wasn't home, Your Honor.
Where were you?
I was at work.
Well, eventually, did you come home?
Yeah, I came home that evening real quick.
Well, that evening, did you try to find where the leak came from?
I had to get back to work. She was dealing with the cleanup. The water was turned off. And they were sending a plumber or something.
Okay. So
Monica said she would take care of it, so.
So they turned off the water, which is perfectly reasonable, because the water is coming from an internal pipe that burst, right? And then what happened? I'm still trying to figure out why
They did not turn off the water until after I got home. I walked in. So I called Monica and I said, oh my God, there's water everywhere in the house. What's going on? She didn't know what was going on. So we were trying to figure out where to turn the water off at.
Okay,
so that's when the water got turned off.
100% understand you. Got it. Came home, you found water, trying to find where it comes from. Finally, turned off the water. I'm still trying to figure out if you lived there.
Behind on rent because I was working and he was trying to get his job situated down in Boise or wherever he could get contracts with his injuries.
So what you're telling me, that you didn't pay rent in July because you didn't have the money?
No, we did not have the money.
Well, that's what I'm asking you. So other than the fact that you didn't have money, there was no reason why you didn't pay rent.
We were making payments whenever we could.
You paid no payment in July.
For Shauna.
You made no payment in July. No, in June you did.
In June we did. In July
you did
not.
not. Listen.
And as long as I was still working for them, that was fine when we were late or making payments
Just
to them.
a second. You made no payments in July and you made no payments in August. You had made payments in
I wasn't
April,
for August
May, and
when
June.
we had a flood.
I'm just telling you.
Yes.
I'm asking you a question. Is the reason you didn't pay your rent because you didn't have any money?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Then you owe them the rent, $2,400. You lived there. You ate the steak.
Wait a minute.
I'm not speaking to you. Listen, you're a tag-along on this whole thing. You understand that? I think these people were very nice to you.
I'm not
probably wouldn't have been as nice.
The house flooded. That's why I couldn't pay the rent.
I have all the pictures right
It
here.
shut my business down. It shut my business down. That house
ruined
flooded.
his briefcase.
My plans were ruined. My computers. There was 2 inches of water at 1,800 square feet of flood.
Yeah.
Monica says she's going to come over. Don't worry.
Mr. Antonucci, you can't talk over me, sir.
Apologies, but
you can't talk over me. I'm older than you are, and I've lived in many apartments. And believe me, I have been the cause of a flood, and I have been the recipient of floods from people around me. Usually, it's an accident. It usually is not an on purpose. Very few people turn on their bathtub and send to my bottom neighbor's house. It's usually as a result of a broken pipe, which nobody can see, or an air conditioner plugs up and the pan overflows and the whatever they call it, the little water bug signal doesn't go blank, blank, so you don't even know that it's going off, and there's a flood. That's not somebody's fault. So now you have a flood that is nobody's fault, not yours, because you're the tenants. So clearly it wasn't your fault. Not something that they anticipated, not something that they were derelict in taking care of. So now, what did they do once the initial mess was cleaned up? How did they fix it? Did they fix the pipe?
We don't know. They never told us. I mean, they said that a plumber came to the house. He left a hole in the ceiling, which I have a picture of.
Just a second. You lived there the whole month of July and into August. Did you have water? Just answer my question. You lived there the whole month of July after this happened and the majority of August. Did it flood again?
No, because
it didn't flood again. And what did the plaintiff do to remediate that? Did they put in fans and blowers?
They put in one fan, and then she finally brought 5 more over. So I had 6 fans in an 1,800 square foot house and 1 window that opened. We lived in the basement.
So they put in fans. You said they had put in one, and then they brought them.
And I plugged them in and brought them and put them on and put them in the bedrooms. In the hallway, in the kitchen, living room.
I have a feeling that you're a victim in more ways than one. That's what you're supposed to do. You living there. They sent them over, you plugged them into the wall. That's what you're telling me?
And there's also a mold problem there.
$2,400. You owe them 2 months' rent. And the bathtub. Let's go for next. What damages to the duplex, Ms. Hellerman?
We had some drywall damages, a lot of garbage debris, large dump run.
Yeah, I'm not interested in that. $2,400. And the bathtub. Now I'm going to get to your count. Damage to a motorcycle, wrongful eviction. Well, you didn't pay your rent, so the wrongful eviction is out. Defamation. What's the defamation?
So Monica sent me a text when I quit working for her, and it said, "Thanks for dropping off the keys." I said, "You're welcome." She goes, "Really? Thank you for giving me 1 day notice. No good deed, ... Goes unpunished. And 3 days later, we get an eviction notice on her door.
I want to know what the defamation is. What's the defamation? Nothing. Cross out defamation. Damage to my motorcycle.
Yeah, they laid gravel down in the driveway without notification, and you can't ride a 900-pound Harley through gravel. So his bike went down.
$2,400. Judgment for the plaintiff. Counterclaims dismissed. We're done here, and she's absolutely right. No good deed goes unpunished.
This court is adjourned.
She definitely got to the bottom of their character.
That house was a death trap.
We received a text with pictures of small puddles throughout the home on a concrete slab.
She didn't want to plumb the tub in. She said we could have it. If we want to use it, we could. If not, she's going to get rid of it. She's going to throw it away, take it to the dump.
I didn't ever tell them they could have the tub. I told them I was not going to install it at that time and that I had already arranged to have the tub removed. I was going to store it.
You know, I think what bothers me more than anything else about cases like that is that those were 2 nice people. The plaintiffs were 2 nice people.
Sure.
And they actually took a chance. They had an employee who was there for a year. Now she's got a husband who's recently released from whatever kind of prison he was in. But they welcomed him. They took him to dinner. They needed a new